bikes in the GP50s. He's had a very, very strong season.
Yeah, he's had a very good season so far. So have many of these riders. We've just got over here. We've just spotted Oliver Hall. Looks like he's getting ready to come out and do some racing. So we're just going to see if we can just have a little chat with Ollie. So, how are you feeling this weekend then?
Good.
What are you looking for results wise?
I'm trying to win a medal at this round, and I'm trying to, and I'm probably going to get one at some of the rounds. But
do you like this circuit then? Have you had much experience around here?
Yeah, I've went to this circuit like lots of times.
And have you had some good experience here in the past in terms of results?
Yeah.
Excellent. Who would you say is your inspiration then who got you into racing?
What's that mean?
What made you start racing? How did you get into the sport?
I just wanted my dad to get me into it, and Dad just got me into it.
That's fair enough. Well, we wish you best of luck for this weekend, and we hope to see you getting that medal that you deserve.
Thank you.
Thank you. So Oliver Hall there, rider in the AC40 Pro Championships. Be interested to see what he can do this weekend, Gareth. But I think we just spotted coming down, I think, is Evan Belford with the British Talent Cup leathers. So I'm just going to pull him to one side. Evan, can we just get a quick chat whilst you're down here? So last year's champion in the MKGP 70s and British Talent Cup this year. How's your season going so far?
Yeah, it's alright. I had a bad first race and first round, crashed, but I think I made up for it in the second race. Got fourth and finished the weekend on a good end.
That's perfect. Well, what are you doing here this weekend then? What are you riding in this weekend?
I'm riding 85.
Right, so do you think you can get on that Extreme 200 podium this weekend?
Hopefully.
Perfect. Well, best of luck with it. I'll let you crack on.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Evan Belford there, last year's MK GP70 champion, and he's moved on to the British Talent Cup, which a lot of these riders tend to do. That tends to be the next stage in all of their careers will be British Talent Cup, Junior Supersport, up into the BSB paddock, and then we see a lot of them come back into the paddock, such as Evan Belford, to come and do the Extreme 200 class, and it makes for some really exciting racing.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of these riders come down, as you say, from the likes of British Talent Cup. Of course, Casey O'Gorman, very strong rounds 1 and 2 at Lid. He makes a return to the season and to the series this weekend here at Wilton Mill. And we're looking forward to seeing what a lot of these guys can do out on circuit, because it's been a fascinating start to the season. We've had weather conditions of all different types, whether that be scorching hot like we saw 2 weekends ago, or equally treacherous rain down on the south coast to the start of the season. So yeah, it can be anything. We're expecting multiple weather conditions this weekend as well, so it's going to test out these riders big time when it comes to their talents, their skills on the bike. And yeah, as you say, the riders coming from the likes of the British Talent Cup and all the way through the BSB feeder series, it's going to be a really exciting weekend here for Fab Racing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've talked about how slippery this track can be in the wet. So we've seen a few of the riders have been saying that they don't want any wet conditions this weekend, but hopefully we'll stay nice and dry. So keep posted and keep following us here at Motorsport Radio. The senior mini motos then now on track for their qualifying 2 session. It's the Birkins battling out front in this one. Matt Birkin and Josh Birkin leading this session at the moment. Matt Birkin on provisional pole at the moment with a 56.1. They did have a qualifying session earlier on as well, so they'll have had some track time already today, and they'll really be trying to get those lap times down and get a good grid slot for for this race. The championship leader also looking to get a good slot in this one, the number 0 of Bernie Hook. He's also got the lap record here as well, and they're a little bit away from that at the moment, but still roughly 2 minutes left in this session at the moment.
Yeah, that time there from Matt Birkin, the 56.109, is actually 0.3 of a second faster than what he did in Quali 1. So Matt going even quicker in the number 5 bike, and it's a return for both Birkins after they missed Clay Pigeon 2 weeks ago. So it's good to see them back, and Matt Birkin in some lovely new looking leathers this weekend. So be good to see those guys out on track. As you can see, Holly Harris and Bernie Hook on circuit. Now, we saw these two together a lot at Clay Pigeon. Holly picking up a maiden victory, and equally a couple of other really decent, strong podiums.
Yeah, it was brilliant to see Holly on the podium and take her first win ahead of Bernie Hook. We're just seeing the two on screen now going into Christmas corner. It was brilliant to see, and she'll be looking to pick up some more podiums this weekend. The Birkins weren't out last weekend at Clay Pigeon, but they are here to play for this weekend. So Holly will have a few more competitors to have to reckon with, but it'll definitely be interesting, exciting to see how she gets on. She's doing a good job to keep Bernie Hook behind at the moment. Bernie Hook and Holly Harris both very quick in this session. Hook third at the moment, and Holly Harris in fourth. And both in the 57s as well. So good times from these guys, but still not quite enough to match the pace of the two Birkins who are currently leading this session. Yeah, and one thing that might be coming up later this season is that we might see your very own Tristan Finocchiaro on one of these mini motos. Been offered potentially a ride at one of the later races in the season. So that's definitely something to look forward to, and you've got to be excited about that, getting back on these mini motos. Yeah, it's been a while. I don't know if I can still fit on one, to be honest. I don't know if I'm flexible enough to get on a mini moto, but yeah, it'll be good fun. Hopefully I can have a go and see if I can see if I can still ride one. Yeah, well, I'd love to get myself on one as well. And, we need to get us both on ones and have a bit of a battle there. We'd love to have that, a little race between the pair of us. I'm used to 4 wheels, not 2, so that's going to be an interesting one indeed. But yeah, out on circuit you can see still it is as the checkered flag comes out on the session, and it's Matt Birkin that will take pole position. Josh Birkin did all he could. In fact, he got within a 10th and a half. So yeah, Josh Birkin there with a really good time for his second qualifying, and the number 4 gets himself upwards, I believe, onto the front row of the grid. Bernie Hook back in third, Holly Harris, good quali for her in 4th position, Craig Ashell in 5th, and Nick Bennett down in 6th position. Also a good ride there from Marco Pandolfo down in 8th spot. Seemed to have some technical issues yesterday, but managed to finish this session, so that's a positive 9 laps he managed to clock there in that one. Aston Dean down in 9th, George Rennick, Robert Kitley and Neil Skinner. So a few new names this weekend in the senior mini motos, and a few names we're very used to, like the Birkins out front. So it will be Matt Birkin who's going to line up on pole position alongside Josh Birkin, the number 4. But next out on track is the Mini GP 50s. If you've just joined us, thanks for tuning in here. We're live for round 4 here at Wilton Mill. The GP50s about to go on circuit for their second qualifying session of the day. We've seen some interesting races here so far this season, Gareth, with Ronnie Harris, Ethan Sparks and Mason Foster pretty much dominating at the front and sharing the spoils. But a few riders such as Ollie Horner, Sam Munson, Clayton Edmonds had a good round at the last one at Clay Pigeon. He managed to get 4th, and he'll be looking to pick up a podium this weekend. So with the riders at the front looking very strong, but the riders just behind looking very keen to catch up and to get one on them. Yeah, and it's the rider on screen. You can see they're in the pit lane, just revving the bike, getting ready to come out circuit. The 66 of Ronnie Harris that's leading this championship coming into round 4. He currently stands on 183 points, but the gap between the top 3 of Ronnie Harris, Ethan Sparks and Mason Foster only at 15 points, and then there's a big gap back to Sam Munson back in 4th place, 87 points back. So yeah, you're completely correct in your assessment of this top 3 breakaway, and
And really, Ronnie Harris, we've seen he's made some electric starts, especially at the likes of Lyd for the first 2 rounds of the season, and that really helped him out. But yeah, the top 3 really, as we said, sharing the spoils in this one. It really seems to do very nicely. But Ollie Horner, as you said, he went quickest in Q1. He picked up pole position in Clay Pigeon. So Ollie, not out of the running for a decent run today.
No, definitely. We've seen what he can do in qualifying sessions, like you say, pole position back at Lyd. So he'll be doing it to get that done again today. But one rider that we've seen has been really strong, both in this class and in the Mini GP 70s. Has been the number 88 of Mason Foster. He's been flying this week and looks really confident out on circuit, and has been always at the sharp end of the timing screens. So definitely watch out for the number 88. Ronnie Harris currently leading this session on a 57.2, above a second quicker than Blake Wilson at the moment, but still a long way to go in this session, and expect the times to tumble. We caught up with one of the riders who we're used to seeing a bit further back in this grid, the number 90 on the very nicely liveried bike there. We caught up with him earlier on, Isaiah Devine, so we'll just hear from him now.
Gareth Hall here with Isaiah Devine, racing in the GP50 class this weekend here at Wilton Mill. Isaiah, you've had a couple of races under your belt here at Fab Racing. It's the first time racing here at Fab. How have you found the season so far?
Yes, it's really nice. It feels much better racing in the GP classes instead of the pit bikes.
Obviously, you've got some experience racing on pit bikes over in Bermuda. So what's it like moving over to this Metric GP50?
It's a bit different. The riding style is a bit different because it's almost like the MotoGP a little bit. So you have to like tuck in more.
And obviously with those changes and moving on to this bike, what's your goals, what your challenges for the season? What are you looking to achieve by the end of this season?
So maybe overtake some more people.
And obviously we see you improving every round. So you've been out, had a couple of laps here at Wilton Mill. How are you finding the circuit so far?
I like it. It's a bit slippery though.
And obviously we might have a few different weather conditions, possibly a little bit of rain on Sunday. So is that something you're looking forward to, or maybe you want to keep it dry?
I don't really know. I haven't really thought about it yet.
Well, good luck for this weekend. Hopefully we'll see you further up the grid and have a good season. As Devine there speaking to us, and yeah, a champion out in Bermuda. Really good to see him on circuit and improving with each round. Another rider we caught up with is the rider currently in 15th position in qualifying. That was Filip Sroviak, and we'll hear from him now. Any particular places you want to be heading after? Gareth Hall here with Filip Sroviak, and a good start to the season for you, running in the midfield. How's the season gone so far?
So far, so good. I mean, most of the tracks I've been to are new to me. This track I've been to a couple of times, so I'm hoping to get a good result here.
Obviously, you've had a couple of cycle laps out here on Friday during practice, so what's the circuit like at the moment?
It's quite slippery for me, but I mean, I have to deal with it, so.
And obviously looking not only this weekend, but as further into the season, what are your goals, what's the challenges, what are you expecting for the rest of the season?
I want to try and get top 10 as much as I can, and then I'll be happy.
And moving forward after this season, have you got any aspirations, any particular places you want to be heading after this season, this class?
I'm going to move next year to GP 70s, and after, I don't know, British Talent Cup or something like that.
And what got you into riding? What got you in at a young age? What gets you going? What really makes you want to get on the bike and out on the circuit?
My dad got me into it, and I guess it's fun, like the adrenaline.
Perfect answer, but good luck, have a great weekend, and hopefully we'll see you up the top end of the field very, very soon. Filip Sroviak there, who we were speaking to, and really encapsulating perfectly exactly why a lot of these riders do it. It's fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the main reason you'll get into racing as a youngster. If you're not enjoying it as well, you won't be up the sharp end. So one rider that's really enjoying it at the moment is the number 66, who's currently leading this session with a 54.2 ahead of Ollie Horner, who was fastest in qualifying 1. But Ethan Sparks now jumps up to second place with a 54.4. So all these riders really close at the moment. 54.2 for Ronnie Harris at the front, 54.4 for Ethan Sparks, 54.5 for Ollie Horner, and a 54.6 for Warwick Brady in fourth at the moment. So we're really close at the front at the moment.
Yeah, the current benchmark time set in Q1 by Ollie Horner was a 53.806, so there's still quite a while off that. So surprising to see the likes of Ronnie Harris, Ethan Sparks, and equally Ollie, almost a second off his lap he set in Q1. So perhaps the track conditions have changed. We heard that there was a little bit of spitting rain in the air. That might have made the circuit just a little bit greasier. So yeah, it's surprising to see these guys out there circulating quite a bit slower than what we were expecting. Yeah,
you'd expect in qualifying too that they'd put the hammer down a little bit more and bring those times down. But I'm sure they're pushing hard. But those times not quite coming to them like they did earlier on. They're not miles away. They're 54.1 Ollie Horner set on that last lap, but not quite matching the 53.8 he did in Q1 earlier on. So it is still Ollie Horner on the provisional pole position at the moment, the number 70, leading this session and on provisional pole from his time earlier on. Ethan Sparks also did a 53.8 earlier on, so as it stands, he'll line up next to Ollie Horner on that front row.
Very, very different circuit here at Wilton Mill from what we saw 2 weeks ago at Clay Pigeon. Clay Pigeon, a lot of the riders said beforehand, it's a circuit that really compacts the field. It makes everyone bunch up and squeeze and makes that racing a little bit more intense. Here, very expansive. It's a 1,120 metre long circuit, 8 metres wide, so a lot of room for bikes to go side by side. We've got left turns, 3 of them, right turns, 8 of them. It's a clockwise circuit, and it's a very, very fast one indeed. We kind of had a track walk yesterday and just wandered around during the session and after the session and had a look at the commitment that some of these guys and some of these riders are really putting into these quarters. You can see almost 3 wide there just in the qualifying session. But yeah, a lot of commitment for these riders, and that was even in Friday practice.
Yeah, it was brilliant to see. We just went up to the top of the circuit and we're just watching the lines these guys were taking, and you could see how it was really impressive how early in their careers they're picking their lines really well and working on them. You saw a lot of riders trying a few different things in the sessions, which I found really mature and really impressive. It looks as if though the number 66 of Ronnie Harris is walking away from this session at the moment, possibly gone down somewhere on the circuit at the moment.
Yep, so that is a shame for Ronnie Harris. He won't be improving on his time of a 54.671 was his best time here, but at least last time here. So he will be starting off of the front row, it seems, because it looks as though Ollie Horner is slowly getting towards the time that he set in Q1. He's just done a 53.942. Ethan Sparks has got a faster time in Q1 than he did in Q2, and that's Clayton Edmonds, I see, down the side of the circuit as well. So claiming batter up on his feet. So Clayton, you can tell by the fluoro colourful fluorocolor leathers. There we go. There's the right word.
Yeah, and a lot of riders going. I'm seeing another rider down now, so that's 3 riders down in a very short space of time. So perhaps the track conditions just coming away from these riders now. We know that this track can get very slippery when the conditions aren't perfect. So we're seeing another rider down at the top of the circuit. The checkered flag is now out, and it's Ollie Horner who's topped the session ahead of Ronnie Harris, who went down, the number 66, and the number 62 of Ethan Sparks. But not quite beating the times they did earlier on in Q1. Perhaps the track not quite as fast as it was earlier on in Q1. But brilliant stuff then from Ollie Horner. He will take pole position ahead of Ethan Sparks, both in the 53s, and the only riders in the 53s at the moment.
Yep, Ollie Horner very strong in qualifying over the last 2 rounds, so I'm sure he'll be delighted with that. He will be hoping for a late season push, currently on 94 points, 89 points back from Ronnie Harris. And we saw, of course, Ronnie at the side of the circuit walking away, possibly with a bike issue. And but yeah, a great result there for Ollie, and as you say, he will be on pole position for the race, which will be coming up later this afternoon. And there is your championship leader in the MKGP 50s, Ronnie Harris, at the side of the track, looking as though he's not particularly happy about how that qualifying session ended. And but where are we? We're at Wilton Mill. It's round 4 of the season. Very, very fast circuit. And as I said, we did a track walk yesterday, and I got my pen and paper out and mapped it all down, wrote the different corners down. And we've got Oblivion is the first corner, which is a nice ominous name for a very fast left-hander, into Crook at turn 2, and then Christmas Corner, an off-camber uphill bend, very tricky for a lot of the bikes, not just the big bikes but the smaller bikes as well.
Yeah, it's definitely not the easiest circuit on the calendar. Plenty of passing opportunities. As we were saying yesterday, we saw riders making moves all over this circuit, and very different to Clay Pigeon, that was very much corner to corner. So this one will throw up something different for these riders, a bit more like the Lid circuit we saw earlier in the season, but with a few less changes of direction.
Yes, very much so. But yeah, thank you for tuning in wherever you're watching it around the world. It's always good to hear from you. So if you're watching on Fab Racing's YouTube or Facebook page, then let us know. Get into the comments. It's always good to hear from you, and equally who you're following, who you're supporting, and what you'd like to see throughout the rest of the weekend. And myself, Gareth Hall, and Tristan Flocchiaro will be bringing you live action from here at Wilton Mill for round 4 of the Fab Racing Minibike British Championships. And yeah, set 4 and the next qualifying session, I believe, out on circuit.
So loads of BSB stars in this session, the Extreme 200 session, full of BSB riders and Fab Racing names as well. So Charlie Nesbitt, watch out for him. He's been quick all weekend, but so has the number 8 of Eddie O'Shea. He's been really quick so far this weekend, and he's been absolutely flying out the front with Charlie Nesbitt. Those two in a class of their own at the moment. Also in this session is the Moto team, moved over from the Pit Bike 140s into the Extreme 200 category. So watch out for those ones as well. They'll be looking to secure their places on the grid respective to the Extreme 200s. You just see there with the Red Bull leathers, that's Max Cook, the junior talent team rider over in the Junior World Championship. He's here this weekend, and the number 79 in black leathers you just see on the screen there, that's Storm Stacey, BSB rider. Was going to be the youngest rider to ride in a BSB race this season, but unfortunately due to some cancellations due to COVID-19, he had his birthday and wasn't actually the youngest rider to ever compete in BSB, but still very impressive to see such young riders stepping up into the British Superbike category. But he'll be looking to get the better of riders such as Charlie Nesbitt and Eddie O'Shea in this one. Yeah,
and you've got to think, if this is Charlie, that he's probably his eyes going to light up at the prospect of someone potentially challenging him, because Charlie hat-trick at wins at Clay Pigeon 2 weeks ago, and Storm Stacey looking very strong so far. Equally, as you say, the likes of Eddie O'Shea, who was shadowing Charlie in Friday practice and learning the lines and trying to stay with him. And but Storm Stacey has turned up today, and he's backing it into almost every corner, having a lot of fun, but finding a lot of time out there.
Yeah, absolutely. He's definitely a quick one, but he's been we've just seen him pretty much sliding his way around every corner, sideways at every corner that he's going around on this Wilton Mill circuit. So he's enjoying himself out there. Possibly not the quickest way around the circuit, but it definitely looks like a good bit of fun. He's got Max Cook following him at the moment, so Max will be seeing all this sideways action even out of turn 2 there. He's getting it lit up on the power, and Max Cook also going sideways into Christmas corner as well. So both enjoying themselves in this session. Currently 6th at the moment in this session is Storm Stacey on a 52.1, so a little bit of a drift from the times we saw earlier on today. Eddie O'Shea earlier on set the faster time with a 59.690, which is what the fastest lap we've seen all weekend, and below the existing lap record as well at the moment. Max Cook, we're also looking at, he's 4th in this session, the number 30 on a 52.1 as well as Storm Stacey. So these two locked together on track, and as Max Cook moves himself up into 2nd and Storm Stacey up into 3rd in this session now. But like we said, Gareth, still a bit of a way to go to find those times that they were doing earlier on.
Yeah, very much so, as Harrison Crosby on that 51.020, almost half a second faster than Max Cook, and exactly half a second faster than Storm Stacey. So yeah, still time to be found out there, and the track, as we saw at the end of that last session, maybe getting a little bit trickier. A couple of riders going down the last session. We'll see if these guys on the pit bikes can, or the extremes can stay up a little bit longer. But out on circuit you can see plenty of leathers that you might recognise, and as you say, a lot of these riders coming from the likes of the British Talent Cup and other series further up, so it's good to see them dropping back down to their roots.
Yeah, absolutely. They're coming here for a bit of fun, a bit of training. It's always good to get as much bike time as possible, but also for a bit of racing, a bit of racecraft experience. And as much as they're enjoying these races, it does get quite hot at the front, and they do take their racing very seriously in these classes. Your riders who were topping the last qualifying session have opted not to go out in this session. It looks like Eddie O'Shea, Nesbitt and Belford, Belford is out, but Eddie O'Shea and Nesbitt not circulating at the moment, so they'll be probably just happy with the times that they were doing earlier on. Yeah.
And they'll be saving themselves for race 1, which will be coming up later this afternoon. Out in the Moto Team class, currently in 9th place, but leading Moto Team is Simon Clowes. He's currently on a 57.356. Very, very close is Jason Pugh, who we've seen. Jason Pugh and Simon Clowes have been almost attached by the hip for the last, 4-5 races, and it seems whenever we've come onto camera with them, we've got the baby blue bike. There we go. That's a tongue twister of Jason Pugh chasing down Simon Clowes. So the 133 and the number 8 have been on second. You hear tyres squealing there from Storm Stacey. But yeah, Simon Clowes and Jason Pugh very, very well matched, and with no Will Howarth once again this weekend, this is a perfect opportunity for the likes of Simon, for the likes of Jason, to take the lead in this championship.
Yeah, absolutely. Only 11 points now is the lead. Will Howarth, who dominated rounds 1 and 2 at Lydd. He wasn't at the last round at Clay Pigeon, and he's not here this weekend. So with only 11-point lead over Simon Clowes, and Vince Bailey also really close in 3rd, it's almost inevitable that he's going to lose that championship lead this weekend. We might see him back at Rowra to claw some points back, but it looks like it's going to be Simon Clowes who's going to take that championship lead this weekend, as still absolutely locked together, the number 79 and the number 213 there of Storm Stacey and Max Cook at the moment. Still 2.5 minutes left to go in this session, so some time for them to bring their times down. I think Storm and Max quicker than they were earlier on, but not quick enough to beat that really quick time there from Eddie O'Shea earlier on.
Yeah, Eddie O'Shea putting in a mega time earlier, very late in the session as well. So I'm sure with him not out on, so he's just popped in a 51.968, went green on that last lap, but still 0.3 of a second off of Harrison Crosby's time. But Eddie probably just finding his feet a little bit out there on circuit. You can see still shadowing each other is Storm Stacey and was up Max Cook as well out there on circuit as well. So yeah, they're just a little bit of traffic ahead, so that's the number 3 bike they have to navigate as we come around to towards the end of the lap. And yeah, it's going to be a fascinating this Extreme 200 race. We've now got 4 riders that can potentially, as Eddie O'Shea does go purple with a 50.799, 4 riders this weekend that could potentially win.
Yeah, absolutely. Eddie O'Shea looking really strong this weekend. Charlie Nesbitt hasn't, in every race he's finished, or started rather, he hasn't finished outside the top 2. So expect to see him at the front battling for the win. Evan Belford looked really strong as well earlier on, so could possibly have a 5-rider battle in this one. Storm Stacey and Max Cook not quite sliding their way around this circuit, but not quite matching the pace that O'Shea and Nesbitt were doing earlier on. So possibly it'll be interesting to see if they can keep up with the pace of O'Shea and Nesbitt. But definitely enjoying themselves out there in this qualifying 2 session at the moment.
Yes, Storm Stacey probably just about asking the limit from his bike there. As you can see it getting all out of shape as he exited turn 6. So he's back under it. You can see sliding it into turn 9, now into the boot at turn 10 to come up to the final corner. But these two might be the one to watch in the race, but of course Charlie Nesbitt will equally have something to say about that. Harrison Crosby, second place. He's currently second in this championship, but yet to pick up a victory. So Harrison Crosby showing that if you pick up consistent points, you can keep yourself in a title fight. Yeah,
absolutely. Harrison Crosby's been consistently finishing around 3rd, 4th, picking up a couple of second places as well. So that consistency's done him really well in the championship. The number 93 in second spot. One rider that we saw who was really quick in this class last time out, Harvey Claridge, he's not here this weekend, so we saw him giving Charlie a run for his money last time out at Clay Pigeon. Wasn't able to take a win away from Charlie, but was still very quick and definitely a contender at the front of this one, but not here this weekend. But it's all about Eddie O'Shea, who's going to line up on pole position in this Extreme 200 grid for this weekend.
Yep, great lap from Eddie O'Shea to get himself up into pole. Harrison Crosby does finish in second in that session with a 51.020, so couldn't beat the time that he set very early on. So a good time from him. But equally, Max Cook finishing third, and Evan Belford, another British Talent Cup rider, in 4th place. And we spoke to Evan earlier this weekend, and he was looking forward to coming back to Fab and just having, as you say, a little bit of practice and getting out there on circuit.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a brilliant opportunity for them to come do some practice, do some training, and have some fun. Evan Belford, a rider we saw last year win the MKGP 70 Championship, so a rider we know is quick, and a prime example of how well the formula works here at Fab Racing. He's graduated up to the British Talent Cup and doing pretty well in that at the moment. They've only had one round, but he's had a very decent round one, so have many of the Fab Racing graduates.
Yep, and of course pole position in the Moto Team class goes to Simon Clowes, and so he will be once again delighted because he needs to be picking up these points. Whilst Will Howarth is unavailable to come here and to race, he needs to be picking up those points, and of course he took 2 out of 3 wins at Clay Pigeon just a few weeks ago. So if he can pick up the same this weekend, of course he takes that lead, and with rounds starting to really fall away now, we're over halfway, so it's going to be getting tight if Will's going to come back and try and get a decent result. Yeah, absolutely.
It's impressive that Will still managed to cling on to that championship lead. Only 11 points it is now, ahead of Simon Clowes, but we're missing 3 races last time out at Clay Pigeon with him not turning up. It really shrunk his championship lead down, and now this weekend it's going to be almost inevitable that he's going to lose that championship lead with another 3 races to go this weekend.
Yep, and thank you for tuning in this afternoon. It's always good to have you on board and watching, whether you're watching on Fab Racing's YouTube or on their Facebook page, of course listening live on motorsport.radio, and equally all of their social channels. You've got the likes of Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, all the good stuff. And let us know where you're watching, who you're watching, and what you'd like to see throughout the rest of the weekend. Always good to hear from you. This is the Road to MotoGP, official partner of the British Superbikes Fab Racing Mini Bike British Championship. It's round 4 from Wilton Mill. Myself, Gareth Hall, and Tristan Finocchiaro will be bringing you all of the action this weekend. And of course, you can follow everything that's going on Fab Racing and Motorsport Radio on on Twitter at Fab Racing and at Motorsport Radio. Next round, Ella Park over in Suffolk as well, so another circuit right over the east side of the country. So another circuit that's very different to Wilton Mill indeed. So it's really this compact season is going to really test these riders, because it's particularly intense. Yeah,
we've been saying it since round one. There's not a lot of room for error in this season, but we're going to see now the first race of the weekend with the MK GP70s about to go out on circuit. They're lined up there in the holding area, ready to go here for their first race of the weekend. This is the Premier Class for the junior riders, and drama this weekend, Gareth, because Johnny Garness, your championship leader, isn't here this weekend after sustaining an injury to his hand, I believe, before this weekend. So he's not going to be here this weekend, and we worked out Lucas Brown 39 points behind Johnny Garness in the championship. He only needs to pick up 2 second places or even just 3 podiums this weekend to claw that championship lead away from Johnny Garness.
Yeah, and we send our best wishes to Johnny Garness and wish him a speedy recovery. But in his place, Lucas Brown has done the best he could and got himself up onto pole position with a 51.064. Mason Foster, of course, won a fantastic race at Lydd in the wet in the GP70s in second, with Alfie Davidson in third. Harrison McKay in fourth place, with Ben Jolliffe. We saw him do very well at Clay Pigeon in race 1 just a few weeks ago in fifth position. Clayton Edmonds in sixth place, the 146 bike, with Jacob Stevenson in seventh. Holly Harris back in eighth place on a 54.407, with Greg Marshall in ninth, and Felix Dorling rounding out the top 10 and the grid in the last position on it. And so Lucas Brown doing exactly what he needed to do, getting up onto pole position.
Yeah, absolutely, and almost half a second quicker than anyone else in qualifying. So Mason Foster's going to have his work cut out for him if he's going to be able to get onto the back of Lucas Brown in this one. He's in a good place to do it on the front row, and also Alfie Davidson will be looking to get onto the back of him as well as the riders come up onto the grid to start their first race of this weekend. Round 4 at Wilton Mill, halfway through the season, and no Johnny Garness here means that Lucas Brown is going to be looking to rack up those points as the Premier Class for the junior riders on their road to MotoGP, their final racing class in the Fab Racing Mini Bike British Championships before they move on to the bigger circuits, to places like British Talent Cup, Junior Supersport, and bigger things. But their attention at the moment is now on this first race for the Mini GP70s as their eyes go to the lights. Will it be Lucas Brown who's going to maximise on the absence of Johnny Garness as the revs go up and they're away? Looks like a good start from Mason Foster as they head into oblivion for the first time, down into turn 2. Mason Foster that's taken the lead away from Lucas Brown. So Mason Foster, the number 88, looking strong at the beginning of this race. Clayton Edmonds going up the inside into Christmas Corner as well. He's looking to climb up some positions as well. Clayton Edmonds there, the number 146. Good start to the race for him. Holly Harris, the number 15, a little bit further back, but it's Mason Foster who's got a brilliant start out the front ahead of the number 29 of Lucas Brown. But Lucas Brown now has made his way through on the number 88 of Mason Foster. So Lucas Brown now leading this race.
Yep, Lucas using got a slightly slow start. Brilliant start from Mason Foster, with Lucas getting back past in the middle sector of this one as they exit the boot at turn 10 into turn 11, the final corner on the track for the first time. Coming across the line, it is Lucas Brown leading from Mason Foster, and brilliant start from maybe a little bit of nerves there from Lucas Brown off the line, knowing that he can pick up some points today and take the lead in this GP series. It's ever so close there into Christmas Corner, and you can see why it's going side by side early on. Everyone trying to find position, but it is a circuit where overtaking is available at most corners, so expect to see much more action as this race unfolds. But it is Lucas Brown, your race leader.
Yeah, Lucas Brown did well to regroup and make his way back through on the number 88 of Mason Foster. Lucas Brown doesn't need to to win all these races to take that championship lead back, but he's going to be looking to capitalise as many points as he can, because when Johnny Garnes returns, he's going to be looking to rack up as many points as well back on Lucas Brown this weekend. So Lucas Brown pushing, put the hammer down at the front. Mason Foster, though, is going with him at the moment, so it's a front two breakaway in this MKGP 70 race. Harrison McKay and Alfie Davidson also trailing behind these guys, battling out for third place. Number 61 of Harrison McKay is in third, but Alfie Davidson takes third place back away from the number 61 as they head down into the left-hander. Clayton Edmonds, you can also see there just on the back of these guys. He's going to be wanting to bridge that gap and join the battle for third place. But it's all about this battle for the lead. Lucas Brown and Mason Foster out the front. Mason Foster's only podium so far this season has been a win at Lid. That was in the wet. He was really strong in the wet, but we've seen him knocking on the door of podiums as well in the dry, and looking really strong this weekend. We were saying, watching him out on track, he looks really confident around this Wilton Mill circuit and in a good place here to challenge for a win in the GP70s.
Yeah, and a lovely little move once again there from the 61 of Harrison McKay up the inside of Alfie Davidson into Christmas Corner at turn 3 and back up into third place. Lucas Brown and Mason Foster are starting to check out at the front. Mason Foster doing consecutive best laps of the race of 52.120. However, Lucas Brown is almost matching him, just 600ths of a second slower. So yeah, the fight is on for this one. So Lucas hasn't got it all his own way, because Mason Foster is doing all he can to stay with him. This fight between Alfie Davidson and Harrison McKay is still going on. Clayton Edmonds, as you say, still staying with him. And Clayton was delighted with a 4th place finish in Clay Pigeon just a few weeks ago, and he'll equally have his eyes on a podium because he's still in this fight.
Yeah, absolutely. He's closing these guys in now, and he's right on the back wheel now of the number 8 there of Alfie Davidson. So he's going to be looking to find his way through plenty of passing opportunities around this Wilton Mill circuit. Very different to Clay Pigeon, as we were saying earlier on, and he's very much in contention for a podium now, and so is the number 125 there of Ben Jolliffe, who we saw in race 1 at Clay Pigeon really put the hammer down at the front and unfortunately crash out. And it just seemed like after that crash he had at Clay Pigeon, he just lost a little bit of confidence in the races to follow. Did still very well up in the top 5, but wasn't quite able to show the pace that we saw from him very early in the weekend. Number 146 now, Clayton Edmonds, coming up to a little bit of lapped traffic and lost out a little bit now on Alfie Davidson as Davidson finds his way onto the back wheel of Harrison McKay. So this battle for third hotting up really nicely, and out the front Lucas Brown and Mason Foster. The Mason Foster's taken the lead now then, so that's the number 88 of Mason Foster leading from the number 29 of Lucas Brown. So Mason Foster, he's won in the wet and now he's looking to take a win in the dry. Equally though, Lucas Brown, he's had 1 win so far this year and multiple of podiums, but his only win has been in the wet. So both these riders looking to prove that they have what it takes to win in the dry as well as in the wet, Gareth.
Yeah, Mason looking very strong indeed, and he said after that wet race that they'd done no wet testing at all, and he went out there and absolutely blitzed the field. But now in the dry, he's showing he can compete, and he'd targeted the championship. Oh, there's Clayton Edmonds down again. We saw him down in the second qualifying session for the GP50s, now down in the 70s. Oh, real shame from Clayton, because they looked as though a podium was on for the young man, the 146 bike. And but yeah, there's a change for the lead once again. Lucas Brown back past Mason Foster. So these guys not knowing who wants to take this race victory. We've got 6 laps left to go, and Mason Foster is once again going to have to find himself behind Lucas Brown. These two swapping positions for fun, it seems.
Yeah, absolutely. These two just are going at it absolutely hammer and tonks at the moment. But the number 61 there of Harrison McKay finding his way up onto the back wheel of these guys now. Looks as if we're having a little bit of rain. We saw some lack of adhesion flags going out there. So Harrison McKay finding the grip and has found his way onto the leaders now. So it's a 3-way battle for the lead. And it looks like these front two are just struggling for pace a little bit compared to some of the riders behind him there. They're clawing them in now as Mason Foster has a little look to the inside, not quite able to make it stick on this lap. But the number 61 of Harrison McKay has closed your leaders right down, and it looks as if the pace of these guys is just dropping off here, because all the riders behind seem to be catching up now as the conditions out there seem to be getting away from these guys.
Yeah, and what's it like from a rider's perspective when you start a race in the dry? Wet weather starts to make its way onto the circuit. The track gets greasier, gets slipperier. What's it like as we've got a rider down there? What's it like as a rider to have this change of conditions? Because you can see everyone's starting to, as we've got a red flag now out on circuit. So the race will be coming to a halt. Lucas Brown puts his arm up to not acknowledge that he saw the flag, and that will be bringing the MKGP 70s to the end for now. But very tricky condition. You can see the rain really just swept across the surface very, very quickly. What's it like?
Yeah, it can be really treacherous for these guys, and we've spoke about how this circuit seems to be quite greasy and quite slippery in the wet, and it only took a few drops of rain in this race, and we saw a few riders down, and then the red flags came out. So absolutely, it's really difficult for these guys, in a very difficult scenario.
Yeah, and of course one rider that we're missing this weekend, as well as Johnny Garness, is Josh Bannister, and we really do send our best wishes equally to Josh Bannister. It was a real shame to see not one but two riders in his GP70 class go down. Unfortunately, Josh suffering an injury at a session last week and was unable to make it this weekend, and the right decision, because obviously a head injury was involved. So it's good to see these guys just taking that precaution, but I'm sure he'll be watching and be devastated that he's not out there on circuit.
Yeah, absolutely. Although it doesn't look like favourable conditions to be out there at the moment. Josh Bannister is around the paddock and watching on the sidelines, but a really smart decision, I think, from him and his family to sit this one out, as it's you can never play around with head injuries. They can be quite scary and quite dangerous. So really a smart decision from them, and I can tell you that they definitely won't be envying these riders out facing these conditions at the moment.
No, not at all. But it's the rain is really starting to sweep in, and we can see it just outside of the commentary box. It's got a lot heavier. It's brushing its way across the surface, and of course you're watching it all here on Fab Racing Minibike British Championship on Motorsport Radio on Fab Racing. Of course you can listen live on YouTube, Facebook on Fab Racing, of course on Motorsport Radio. You can listen on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, all that good stuff, and equally if you're on the go you can listen on motorsport.radio, the world's only 24/7 dedicated motorsports radio station with shows, clips, music, all that stuff 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, where you can hear myself, Gareth Hall, and Tristan bringing extended coverage and highlights from the season. So we can see that it's currently at the moment Lucas Brown is being put down as a provisional victor on that one. So you've got to think, if you're Mason Foster, he's going to be a bit gutted with that, because the win was dealt well within his grasp.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really unfortunate that Mason Foster possibly had a plan coming towards the last lap. I'm sure both riders would have had a bit of a plan going towards the end of that race, and when a race is ended suddenly like that, it can be a bit frustrating when your plan has had to go out of the window. But Lucas Brown, currently the provisional winner of this race, yet to be confirmed, but he'll be happy to take 25 points. But any points at the moment with Johnny Garness not here is a victory for Lucas Brown.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm sure Lucas will be delighted with that one. So what else have we got coming up today? Well, we've got race ones all through all of the categories, and one of the categories we haven't seen so far this season is the sidecars. Now, it's been fascinating. It's great fun to watch him out on circuit, because all different sounds, all different adhesion types, and equally very strong start for them out on a circuit. They've probably had quite an extended gap between the end of their last season and the start of this one. So for them, I'm sure they'll be excited to pick out on circuit, and we're excited to watch them out having a good time out there.
Yeah, absolutely. They'll probably be a little bit disappointed that their first round back is looking to be a bit of a wet and treacherous one at the moment, as the rain continues to come down outside at the moment. But it'll be really interesting to see the sidecars in action for the first time this weekend at round 4 here for the Fab Racing Mini Bike British Championships.
Yeah, and the category up next will be the AC40 Pros. Now, Ethan Sparks has been on fire in that AC40 Pro class, not off the podium so far. So yeah, it's been a really strong start, well, not even start to the season, continuation throughout the season so far from Ethan.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been so consistent, not off the podium, as you say, and that's exactly the type of consistency that you need to be able to be at the front of these championships and to win championship. He finished second in the AC40 Pros last year, so he's going to be looking obviously to go one better this year. But he's got plenty of competition in there in the terms of Archie Gibbs and Joshua Williams that will all be looking to close that in that championship lead that Ethan Sparks has out the front.
Yeah, and Archie Gibbs has just been creeping his way forward, hasn't he? Because the first round of the season we heard that he had issues with the bike, and then obviously a clay pigeon around 3. Really strong in Friday practice and into the races as well. So Archie, although it feels like there's a big gap between himself and Ethan Sparks in the championship, it's not over yet, because Archie's really picking up this pace.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw Archie really come into his own at Clay Pigeon after they got those technical problems fixed. He was just struggling with straight line speed back at Lid, and they got that sorted for Clay Pigeon, and he was fighting up the sharp end, and he's been going really well this weekend as well. He's been setting some blistering pace, and we were watching him yesterday in practice, and his lines looked really smooth and really good. So really good stuff from Archie Gibbs as well.
Yeah, and after that is the AC40 Rookies, and the Rookies have been setting a blistering pace at the moment. We've had Austin Johnson and Byron Johnson at the front battling out for wins, and sibling rivalry has taken full force in the AC40 Rookie class, and the likes of Finley Powell-Hill behind Freddie Bridewell, of course you'll know that surname. It's a very, very close championship or cup series for those guys, and yeah, it's been great fun watching them, expecting them to move up into the pros and do very well next season.
Yeah, absolutely, and we heard from Byron and Austin Johnson earlier on this weekend. They were looking really keen this weekend, and really raring to go. So let's just have a little listen to see what Byron had to say. Byron Johnson here, then, the number 37, racing in his first season of racing this year. So how are you finding racing so far?
Good.
What do you enjoy about it?
Coming first.
Brilliant, and I'm assuming you're hoping to be racking up some wins this weekend then?
Yeah.
Who do you think your main rivals are going to be then? Who are you going to need to beat to be able to get that first place?
Finley and Austin.
How do you think you're going to be able to beat them?
Late braking.
Perfect. We've seen that you've been really strong at the end of the races so far this season. How have you been able to have so much pace at the end?
Mainly late braking as well.
That's perfect. Well, best of luck this weekend, and thank you for talking to us.
Byron Johnson there, and yeah, he's had a brilliant season so far. It's been great fun to watch him and Austin. He was saying that he thinks it's going to be Austin and Finley that will be challenging him in this season, and very, very smart rider, because he took the inside line on the line, the final corner, final lap, and stole the win off of Austin, and Austin was, you could see across the line, slapped his handlebars, not happy at all. But yeah, we heard from Austin on Friday equally about how his season has been going. Gareth Paul here speaking to Austin Johnson, one of the AC40 rookie class riders. A very, very good season so far. A little bit of sibling rivalry between yourself and Byron. So how's the season gone between you two?
Good. I've had a DNF, which was unfortunate, and I've had a couple of race wins.
And obviously it's lovely to step on the top step of the podium and pick up those race wins. So you've got to be hoping you'll be doing the same thing this weekend here at Wilton Bill?
Yeah.
And equally, we saw maybe a couple of DNFs from you back at the likes of Lid. Really unfortunate. I think it was just with a couple of laps left to go, the bike just gave up on you. So What's it like for you when you have such disappointment? We saw you come back and pick up the race win the next time round. So, yeah, really good result from you. So, where's your inspiration to come back and fight hard?
I don't know. I just, like, my dad bought me a bike and I started riding it, really.
And who's your inspiration, like maybe in MotoGP or World Superbikes or British Superbikes? Who do you look up to and want to be?
Dovi or Marquez.
Doesn't everyone want to be Marquez? But great, have really good luck this weekend, Austin. We're looking forward to seeing what you can do out there on the circuit.
These riders, Austin and Byron Johnson, and many in the AC40 rookies, very much at the beginning of their careers and in their first seasons of racing, and with some careers ahead of them. And one example of a rider who's come up through the Fab Racing ranks and progressed into the British Talent Cup is Eddie O'Shea. We spoke with him earlier on, so let's hear what he had to say. Eddie O'Shea, British Talent Cup rider here at Wilton Mill. How's the season going for you so far over at the British Talent Cup?
It's going alright. At Donington last weekend, I had a few issues engine-wise. We ended up putting 3 engines in at the weekend, and thanks to Charlie Farrer's team and Ryan Hitchcock, who lent us the engines for the weekend. But I managed to come away with 2 fifths in the end, 5th in the championship standings, so not too bad.
You're back out next weekend at Snetterton. What are you expecting to pick up there?
Snetterton's one of my favourite tracks, so I am hoping for podium or even a win.
Awesome stuff. What brings you back to Fab Racing then?
Fab is just it's a good place to learn. It's good training on obviously the CRF 150s and the pit bikes. And it's just a good bit of fun.
That's absolutely brilliant. So you've also you climbed up through the ranks here at Fab. Just tell us a little bit about the journey that you had coming through the championships.
Well, I started in BMB and then found that Cool Fab was more competitive on the mini moto, so I moved into Cool Fab on the mini moto for 2 or 3 years, and then moved on to Metric 50. And then moved on to Metric 70, and then while I was in the Metric 70s, I fortunately got selected to ride in the British Talent Cup to ride with Dorna. But this year I'm obviously riding in the British Talent Cup for my 2nd year.
Awesome stuff. So Eddie O'Shea then, a perfect example of how the formula works here at Fab Racing. Thanks very much for talking to us, mate.
Thank you.
Brilliant to hear there from Eddie O'Shea and about his journey through the ranks here at Fab up into the British Talent Cup, and we'll be seeing plenty of him throughout this weekend. Another rider we spoke to, a little bit older, is up in the senior mini motos. It's Craig Ashall, so let's hear what Craig had to say on Friday.
Craig Ashall then here at Wilton Mill for round 4. What are you expecting to take from this weekend?
Hopefully a win. It's always got to be hopefully a win, but yeah, I've had a few challenges this year, especially with being locked down, putting on lots of extra weight. I'm already one of the heaviest riders on the grid, so yeah, I'll take whatever I can. But if there's rain, then we'll see what we can do.
There's been a lot of talk of the conditions here when it does rain. Have you had any experience here in the wet before?
Yeah, last year it's like an ice skating rink. I did win the race, but unfortunately forgot my transponder, so come nowhere. But yeah, I don't enjoy the rain, but I do feel that my weight may help me out in tricky conditions, because you've got a little bit more weight on the tyres, so maybe a little bit more grip.
Done pretty well also in the dry so far this year. How's the season? How do you feel the season's gone so far?
It hasn't quite gone to plan, but yeah, I'm taking it slowly. And yeah, I had a few problems with the bike, like setup and things adjusting themselves on the bike, which has got rid of a setup, and I've been chasing the setup at Lid. Had a bit of a off in the first race on the Sunday. That hurt quite a bit and it's knocked my confidence. Still chasing a few problems on the bike this morning, so yeah, hopefully we've addressed them, and we'll see how we go today.
What sort of setup changes and things do you tend to have a play around with on these mini motos?
Ignition timing, jetting, tyre pressures, yeah, that's pretty much all you can do. There's no suspension or anything to adjust, so yeah, your suspension is your tyre pressures. Yeah, and that's pretty much all you can do.
That's perfect. Thank you very much for talking to us, and remember to put the transponder on this time.
Will do. Pleasure.
It was really good to catch up with one of the senior mini motos riders there, Craig Ashall. We tried to speak to a few more senior mini moto riders, but they seemed to be running away from us yesterday, such as Matt Birkin completely legged it when we tried to get an interview with him yesterday. So we'll be after him next round at Rower, and we'll have to pin him down and try and get an interview there. But it looks like it's going to be a really interesting weekend for the senior mini moto. Still no Will Howarth, so he's dropping down the order in the championship, and it's Bernie Hook who's going to be defending that championship lead. He's got a mammoth lead at the front, 93 points ahead of Andy Whedon, but the Birkins are back as well this weekend, and they're looking really strong.
Yeah, they are indeed, and Matt Birkin back with some, as I said in qualifying, some lovely new leathers with his name on the back of them as well, so it's going to make it much easier for us to work out which one's which. So always good to see people putting some time and money into looking good out there on circuit. But yeah, we will be catching them both for an interview in a few weeks' time. So mark my words, we will find you, and we'll hear how your season has gone. But yeah, you can see, as you say, Bernie Hook, mammoth, absolute monster. There's a word.
There's a
huge lead. There's definitely a word in there somewhere. But yeah, huge lead in this championship. 93 points. But then the gap between second to sixth is only 8 points. So it's not over for this. Maybe the runners-up spot. It looks as though Bernie might be perhaps retaining this championship. But yeah, the likes of what you've got, both Birkins, you've got Will Howarth, Andy Whedon, and Holly Harris. After that really strong round at Clay Pigeon, she's got herself well up there in the championship.
Yeah, we saw her take her first win at Clay Pigeon, which was brilliant to see. Beat her Bernie Hook in a race-long battle, so was a well-deserved victory. And like you say, it's going to take something. I don't want to curse him, but it's going to take something really monumental to go wrong for Bernie Hook for him to lose that championship lead. But like you say, Andy Whedon, Matt Birkin, Will Howarth is still in there. So if he does decide to join us later on, he can still be fighting for top 3 positions in this championship. Although it looks like the Birkins are set to pick up some good points this weekend. Don't want to curse them either, but it should be really interesting this weekend to see if the Birkins can stick it to the championship leader.
Yeah, and will be Matt Birkin starting on pole position in that one later on this afternoon. He was fastest in both Q1 and in Q2, so you expect to see a battle between the Birkins, which is something we saw in Lid. And in fact, if you've missed any of the senior mini moto races this season, go back and watch them on YouTube. They have been just fun to watch. That's the only word you can use to describe it, because it's been chaos, it's been messy at times, but it's been fun. There was a rain shower in the morning session at Lid in round 1, and it really opened up the race. And then equally, round 2 was torrential rain, and it seemed no one wanted to win. We had riders going down out of the lead on the final lap, with both Birkins going down and Bernie Hook going down on the final lap. So yeah, this senior mini moto class, anything can happen.
Yeah, absolutely, and very similar conditions to what we're seeing at the moment. The rain is continuing to come down here at Wilton Mill. Very light, but it's just keeping the track greasy, and we know how slippery it is around here. So we're hello to James Cook, who we're just seeing on screen at the moment, with the number 7, just next to the number 7 bike of James Fitchett. Yeah, James Cook, keep an eye out for him. He'll be out later on in the weekend. Also looking, you can see the number 62 there of Ethan Sparks, your AC40 Pro Championship leader, waiting to go out. They were just fitting the wet tyres on all these bikes before they can all get out on circuit. You see Luke Fitcher there with the tyre warmers on that number 7 machine, all waiting to get out on track. And saying hello again to James Cook, who's now got his thumbs up at us, and Luke Fitcher, who's giving us a wave. Brilliant to see, Gareth.
Yeah, always good to see all the guys in the paddock enjoying themselves, even as the rain starts to come down. Everyone just chilling out and speaking. And there we go, all the riders giving us a wave there. We can see you, Ethan. Put your arm, give us a wave. There we go. Good to see you, lads. And hopefully you'll all have a good race out there. Once we get going, again, everyone just fitting some wet tyres. There's Aston Dean there. So, lovely to see. Always good to see these guys having fun in the rain. And, making the most of it and making the best of it. Because, of course, the rain is coming down a little bit. It seems to have eased a little bit. But, yeah, very greasy circuit. So, tricky conditions. Not quite like what we saw at Lid, where it was monsoon-like at points, but definitely a very greasy, very slippery circuit. And a lot of these riders on Friday said that the track, especially in the rain, becomes very slippery, and that's exactly what they've got.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw when it was half and half conditions, very light rain at Lid, how we were talking about how all the senior mini motors went down in that one, but they've got a chance to put their wet weather tyres on this weekend. Saying hello to Iona Glover, who's currently on screen, but can't quite hear us at the moment and isn't giving us a wave.
No, we'll see her a couple of times this weekend. The likes of sidecars, we'll see she'll be taking part of that when they're out on circuit, and equally in the PB140. So, yeah, it's going to be a great day. Everyone's just fitting some wet weather tyres on their bikes at the moment. So just giving them a little bit of time just to get sorted before we get back out on circuit with the next mini motor class, which will be the AC40 Pros. What else have we got going on? Well, Extreme 200s moto teams, of course. We saw their qualifying session earlier in the broadcast. Simon Clowes motor team. He's looking at reeling in once again. Will Howard leaving and having a couple of rounds off, and seemingly still holding on to positions in the championship. But Simon Clowes has got to think that this is the weekend that he takes that lead in that championship.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got a brilliant opportunity to do it now without Will Howarth here, and he doesn't need to pick up a mammoth amount of points to be able to do it. We expect to see Will Howarth slipping through the order in terms of championship standings this weekend, and hopefully he'll be back out at Rower to defend that championship lead, or rather regain that championship lead, because we saw back at Lid he was really in a category of his own on that 50cc Metrokit machine that he's got there. Roger was telling me it's a bit of a rocket of a machine, that one, that Metrokit GP50 that he's on.
Yeah, and it's brilliant seeing him out there on the absolute limit of adhesion, but we've just had word that out on circuit we'll see the Mini F1 sidecars. Now, this will be the first time we see them this season, so your guess is as good as mine. However, if it's anything to go by in qualifying, it's Mick Williams that's seemingly doing a very, very good job up there at the front, and a little bit quicker than everyone else on circuit. So, it's going to be good to see these sidecars and see what they can do.
Yeah, and I think a little bit quicker is a very modest way of putting it. Mick Williams been absolutely flying out the front with his passenger Michael Elms. You can just see there Iona Glover getting ready to go out and do battle in the first Mini F1 sidecar race this season. So the two Glovers getting ready to go out there.
Yep, Dave Glover there, who will be riding, and Iona as passenger. So it's going to be great fun watching sidecars out there. You've seen, if you've watched them on YouTube before, whether it's been the grassroots level all the way up to the pro level, that it's fast, it's frenetic, it's dangerous at times, because of course you've got your passenger throwing their body weight across the bike to make sure it turns into every corner, and it's going to be no less dangerous. We've got a lot of different partnerships on here, whether it be a male or female, male or male, and it's going to be great fun. We know we've got a married couple, and that's going to make it an interesting day. If you lose your wife off the side of the bike, I'm sure she won't be particularly happy about that. Equally, I'm sure that some of the other passengers probably wouldn't be excited being left on the side of the track. But we heard from one of the former riders yesterday. It's a very, very tricky situation if you do lose your rider. So the passengers, even though they're not driving the bike, they're definitely performing a great service.
Yeah, and the real question is, are they driving the bike or are they riding the bike, Gareth?
It's true.
The passenger equally as important on these outfits. If you lose your passenger from the outfit, you're pretty much doomed going into the next corner. So it is something that we do see. and it's very, very different to everything else that we have on circuit.
Yeah, and much like what we talked about earlier, with you potentially getting a ride on Bernie Hook's mini bike, how do you fancy a lap around one of these circuits as a passenger on one of these?
It's definitely going to be interesting. I have had an opportunity to give it a go. It's something that I'm not obviously used to, but no, it'll be really interesting. You see Simon Clowes on screen at the moment, fiddling with one of those outfits out there, and engineering one of those outfits out there at the moment. But yeah, looking forward to getting on one, but I can't promise that anything's going to be terribly quick.
Yeah, but that's going to be always probably one of my highlights of the season is to be watching you on the side of one of those, because
I tell you what we need, Gareth, we need to get you on as a passenger on one of the sidecars, and that'll be good fun.
Well, I imagine if you're riding it or driving it, we're yet to find out if that's actually the term of use. Well, you will be leaving me on the side of the road, probably at turn 1. But yeah, you guys don't know that Tristan's only about 5'1" tall. I actually have to crouch down when we're on camera together. So yeah, his body weight's probably perfect for some of these sidecars. So wait to see that later in the season. It's going to be a brilliant clip that we will be bringing to you during the broadcast at one of the later races in this season. And equally, it's going to be great fun. Not just watching you out there, but equally these riders are possibly a little bit more adept than you are. But whilst we've got this break in play, let us know. Obviously, you were at Donington with a lot of our British Talent Cup riders that are here this weekend. How did your Superstock 600 race go? And equally, what did you see from some of the guys at the British Talent Cup?
Yeah, it's good to follow the British Talent Cup guys. I had a good weekend picking up my first points in the Superstock 600 class, so I was really happy with that. That was all I was aiming for. A learning year it's going to be this year for me. But yeah, it's really good to follow the British Talent Cup guys. We saw the likes of Casey O'Gorman, Harvey Claridge that we've seen in these in coming up through these Fab Racing Championships. So to be able to follow them here and be able to follow them there is brilliant stuff. And you can just see them now. These are the highlights from the British Talent Cup race. Your bright orange bike there of Casey O'Gorman getting a good start ahead of Franco Bourne. Harvey Claridge in there, you can see, who's a regular here at Fab Racing, and a change for the lead as well, as the number 71 went up the inside of the number 72 of Casey O'Gorman at McLean's. They were side by side all race long as they went down into the S's. So it was a really exciting race for me, because Harvey Claridge was looking really strong. Also, the number 7 of Jamie Lyons, who was tapping his seat unit, trying to make sure those riders were following him. It was a front 3 Bakerweight in this race. This was race 1 for the British Talent Cup at Donington Park, and Casey O'Gorman it was who was fighting all the way through that race. And Casey O'Gorman it was that took the checkered flag first and won that race. And Delightment on pit wall, and his race 2 as well. Casey O'Gorman started from pole, but it was Franco Bourne that got a brilliant start, and Harvey Claridge as well in there getting a brilliant start as well. You can see further back the Stav Connect Academy bike of Corey Tinker as well. Eddie O'Shea also in there, who was here this weekend, as there was a big crash at Craner as Franco Bourne went down, as Charlie Farrow went down, and his bike went skittling off into the distance, and a massive crash into Starkeys as a few riders went down, Corey Tinker and a few other riders there. And then it was all about the battle at the front between Harvey Claridge, Casey O'Gorman, who went down mid-race, leaving the battle between Harvey Claridge and Franco Bourne at the front, and it was between them to battle it out to the end of the race. Who was going to take that victory? Would it be the number 16 or the number 17? A race-long battle, a lot of late braking manoeuvres into the chicane, but eventually it was the number 17 who took victory in the final British Talent Cup of the weekend. So that was some extremely exciting races, and riders that we've seen in this championship around the Fab Racing paddock all year so far, and in previous years. Yeah, and as you saw on circuit, it was brilliant racing, very, very close. And yeah, well done, you've done a great job there covering that one. And yeah, it's great to have on the broadcast the Talent Cup there, and a lot of the highlights from their 2 races at Donington Park last weekend. And Casey O'Gorman
Casey O'Gorman with his arms up before he'd even stopped moving after going down after that clash with Harvey Claridge. And of course, if you want to be part of that British Talent Cup, the best place to start is here at Fab. And obviously, those AC40 rookies will be looking up to the likes of Casey O'Gorman, Harvey Claridge, Eddie O'Shea. Even in this paddock, it's brilliant for these 6 years up. These AC40s, and to have the likes of British Talent Cup riders, Charlie Nesbitt of course has moved up through the field as well. It's brilliant for these younger riders to have that mentor level, that rider in the paddock that, that's where I'd like to be in 8-9 years time.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's good for them to target these riders in the paddock. They can see them, they can see that they've been through the classes that they're currently racing in. They've been up through those ranks, and they're now in the BSB paddock, and even in the BSB paddock, they'll riders like Claridge, O'Gorman, all these riders. Charlie Nesbitt's a brilliant example. He's right up the sharp end in the GP2 class in Supersport, which is right at the top of the totem pole in the BSB paddock. So it's good for these riders to be able to see what they're working for and where they can be. Equally, riders like Storm Stacey, who's here this weekend, he's doing his debut season in the British Superbike class this year, and he came up through the Fab Racing ranks as well. So definitely the place to be if you're starting off as a youngster in this motorcycle racing world.
That was Roger Keys on screen. You saw there just speaking to one of the riders before this race. Of course, Roger, the head honcho here at Fab Racing, and does a stellar job in the race control, making sure everything runs smoothly. So, of course, we send all our thanks to Roger for making sure everything goes as well as intended, and does a great job out there with a lot of volunteer help, not only in race control, but equally out on circuit. We've got cameramen, we've got marshals who are, of course, a lot of the parents out there helping out on marshal post, and of course, marshals are here from Wilton Mill, of course. So it's not a one-man job, and it runs very nicely, very smoothly as we get everyone out on circuit and making sure that we continue through the rest of these races. It's picked up a little bit of the rain intensity, which is why everyone's just rolling back into the paddock. So we have got a slightly more extended breaks, but we'll continue chatting because that's what's always nice to do. You get to hear more about Tristan and myself, and equally what's going on here at Fab Racing. Of course, if you are watching, if you're tuning in and you can see these conditions have changed, whether you're watching on Fab Racing YouTube or their Facebook page, and of course you're in the paddock and you're watching on your phone, your tablet, or even if you've got one of these big motorhomes and you've got Sky TV, or you've got everything in there, and of course you can listen live if you're up there on Motorsport Radio, and of course it's the world's only 24/7 dedicated motorsports radio station. Shows, clips, highlights, music, all that good stuff throughout the week. And of course you can listen to The Breakfast Show with Lester Forbes and Kiko Giles. Always a good listen very early in the morning. I'm sure Lester will be delighted with me plugging that one for him. And it's going to be, it's brilliant to have all these different sports, both 4 and 2 wheels, represented on the radio show. And if you want to hear from myself, it's on Sunday 12 till 4, usually talking Formula 1, as I'm more adept to 4 wheels. But Tristan, we're going to have to get you on the radio show talking all things Superstock and equally all things on 2.
Yeah, I'd happily join you guys, but maybe not on Formula 1. I think most people in the paddock can agree with me, but that 2 wheels is where it's at the moment. But yes, the rain coming down hard here, and the sidecars had to make their way back into the paddock. So it's going to be a delayed start for the Mini F1 sidecars. We almost had some action here, but the weather here at Wilton Mills just not playing ball with us at the moment, Gareth.
Excuse me? Excuse me? Well, I'll give you that faux pas. I'm allowed to say driving occasionally instead of riding, and you can't get my name right. We've been doing this for almost 2 months. But my weather radar said 50% chance of rain, so we have got it coming over. In fact, we expect rain to come over more tomorrow afternoon. We've actually got 70% chance of rain on Sunday, so this might be a precursor to what you see tomorrow. So, in a way, it could be positive for these riders to go out there and maybe get a little bit of practice on a trickier circuit, because if it is going to raise a little bit harder tomorrow, then it might be a good idea for them to get a bit of wet weather running on this Saturday, the first weekend. We spoke to a couple of riders on Friday. One of those was Dominic Gardner. We'll hear from him right now.
Tristan Finocchio here with Dominic Gardner, the number 21. We're here at Wilton Mill. You've had one round under your belt already. How do you feel going into this weekend?
Quite confident. First time on this track, so just learning.
Have you managed to have a look at the track already?
Yeah, we went round on a track walk yesterday and done one session, so just getting used to it.
What do you think of the track so far then?
Yeah, it's quite a good track, some fast corners, quite a lot of gear changes as well. Quite like it here.
Excellent. So what's your target then for this weekend in terms of results?
Probably top 15 this week, I think.
15. And in terms of the championship, will we expect to see you sticking around for the rest of the year?
Probably, yeah, this year.
And what's your target in terms of the championship then?
Well, I'm not doing every round, so if I get 15th, that'd be good. That'd be nice. Yeah.
That's perfect. Thank you very much. Brilliant to hear from Dominic Gardner there. And another class, he's riding in the GP50s, so that's a class that a lot of the younger mini moto riders will be looking up to, riders such as riders in the AC40 pros like Thorley Trevorrow. We spoke to him earlier on, and we're going to hear from him now. Tristan Finocchio here with Thorley Trevorrow. Having a good season so far. What are you looking for here at Wilton Mill?
At least third on the podium. It would be nice to get first or second, just get on the podium really.
Have you been to this circuit before, and do you like this circuit?
Yeah, I like the circuit. I've got the lines perfect. It's a very bumpy track, but it is good.
It's looking like it's possible we might get some rain this weekend. How do you like the rain around here?
The track isn't very good in the wet. It's very slippery, so basically hoping to not get any wet, but I am very good in the wet.
How will if we do get any rain this weekend, how will that change your strategy come race day?
Not much, I don't think, but basically I'll just try my hardest.
That's perfect. Thank you very much.
That was Thorley Trevorrow, very assured and confident about his lines here around the circuit. It's always good to hear from the younger riders about how their weekends are going and what they're expecting for the rest of the season. And another one of the riders that we spoke to was one of our rookies, and that was Zach Pennegar. Let's hear from Zach. Gareth Hall here speaking to Zach Pennegar, who's racing this weekend here at Fab Racing in the AC40 rookie class. Zach, it's been a pretty decent season for you so far. How do you think it's gone?
Quite good.
And obviously we're here at Wilton Mill. Is it your first time here at the circuit? What are you thinking of the circuit so far when you've been out there?
So on this track it's my second time, and on that track next to us, that was I've been on it but once.
And what are the conditions out there? A couple of riders saying it's a little bit slippery. How are you finding it?
It's not that much slippery, but I don't think it's slippery at all.
And this weekend, what are you expecting? Where would you like to see yourself? Maybe on the podium one of the races?
Yeah.
And for the rest of the season and towards the end of the championship, have you got a goal? Any particular points or positions you'd like to get? Maybe a win?
Yes.
Well, thanks very much. That's Zach Pennegar. We'll see much more for him later on this weekend.
Brilliant to hear from the younger riders there, and perhaps a hairstyle inspired by the pit bike Sonic of Jamie King, who we see in the PB 140 Championship. So good to see that hairstyle making its way into the paddock and becoming a little bit of a trend. Looking back to the circuit, the rain is still coming down a little bit harder now. So we're definitely going to be under wet weather conditions when we get started. You can just see one of the marshals walking back there. That's Nick Coe with his yellow flag, just having a feel for the circuit conditions. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's wet, Nick.
Absolutely, just going out there, seeing if he falls over. So if he does, we'll line up some Benny Hill music or something like that just to go along with him. But yeah, we've got an ominously dark cloud starting to make its way across the circuit, so it's probably going to get a little bit more damp out there. So a lot of the riders in the paddock, it's probably the last thing they wanted was this wet weather to come in on a Saturday. I think they probably expected it to sweep over on the Sunday, but yeah, for those that maybe are a little bit weaker, like the likes of Ethan Sparks, we saw Ethan has not had particularly great luck in wet weather conditions, so this is probably the worst case scenario for him.
Yeah, there's some riders struggle in the wet more than other riders do, but it also can change on in terms of the circuit. Lid, very different circuit compared to this one in the wet. We saw Lid definitely had a little bit more grip than Wilton Mill. Wilton notorious for being very slippy and greasy in wet weather conditions. So yeah, but like you say, it could very much favour some riders and hinder others. Such as Ethan Sparks, who we saw very fast in the dry but seemed to struggle a little bit in wet weather conditions last time out at Lid.
Okay.
And joining me at the moment in the commentary box is Roger Keys. Roger, how are we?
Well, I was good until the rain came. Unfortunately, this particular track is pretty slippery if it's just wet or just damp. It's actually raining a bit harder now, so we think we might be able to continue. We're going to get the one of the Minimoto classes to come out and do a couple of sighting laps with full wets on, see how it goes, and then if it goes okay, we'll go back to a normal routine. It's just such a difficult circuit if it does start to rain gently. Even the sidecars looked at it and went, no, maybe we'll go back and put full wets on and then we'll give it another go. So that's what we'll do. I'm sorry that this happens. It's the vagaries of the British weather. We all know what that's like, don't we? It just sends us into orbit every now and again. You think, oh, this is going well. That's a bad mistake. Never say that, because it will always go wrong. So be a little bit patient, the audience out there, but we'll be back with you very, very shortly.
That's perfect, and that's an update on the scenario here at Wilton Mill. But we've had a very interesting season so far in all classes, and it's been brilliant to see. Even in the MKGP70 class, we've seen some really close racing. Johnny Garness doing well out the front. What is it like for you watching all these riders progressing through the ranks and making their way up to the top class?
Well, I suppose I've got to almost be expectant, because they've always turned out to be so good and gone so far. It's just what we expect. That may be a bit opportunistic to say that, but they seem to learn very, very quickly. I mean, this year they've had a bit of a strange rear. They haven't had much track time. They've had to come in and go boomf, which is difficult, but the standard is rising already. I know that we're going to see some really good riders come out of this championship this year, both in the 50, the 70, and of course the Minimoto classes. Not forgetting the seniors, who without them we really couldn't run race meetings, and they have a lot of fun, but it's very serious fun. Believe you me, they don't come here to mess about. They come here to win, and we get some very, very top quality riders, particularly in the extreme class and pit bike 140, BSB riders, even from time to time World Championship riders. So it's not unusual for them to come along and to raise the level, keep everybody going.
Absolutely. Is it good for these riders to see riders such as Charlie Nesbitt, Brad Ray coming in and having fun in these classes?
They're not phased. They're just other riders. That's what I quite like them to think, because they've got to realise that these people, they're just human. They're not that much different from them. If they can do it, so can I do it, is the thought they've got to have in their heads. And if they do that, yes, they do appreciate it and they do admire them, but they also don't fear them. And that's the important thing. You mustn't be put off by the fact, oh, I can't beat him, because later on in life you might be beating him or similar. So you've always got to think like that, and that's the way we like them to think.
Absolutely brilliant hit to hear from Roger Keys here at Wilton Mill, the Bernie Eccleston of Fab Racing, but just
not quite,
with a few less helicopters.
Slight, a few less, and money, lots of money. Yeah.
So we've seen quite a few BSB riders here this weekend. So what's in store for us?
Well, they're going to race hard and try to win hard. They've been a bit naughty, though. They've been off-track limits quite a lot, and they know that's not the right thing to do, and they don't really care, even though I give them penalties. And I think they almost look forward to that because it moves them back on the grid, which is a bit naughty as well. But we put up with that. We just have to. But we always expect them to do well and to show the kids how to race. And we've got, just a think who we've got here. We've got Charlie Nesbitt. We've got... Storm Stacey's come along for this one as well, and we've obviously got Eddie O'Shea. Brad Ray comes along regularly, and perhaps we'll get Scott when he's free from his World Superbike duties to come along to one as well. Scott Redding, who we're very proud of, because he was the winner of the very first ever Mini GP, as we called it then, 50 Championship. He won that, and against also from that, Luke Mossey was from the same group, Danny Kemp was from the same group. So in year one, we produced riders of top level racers.
Yeah, and Scott Redding, riding in World Superbike at the moment, has been in MotoGP, and from my understanding, he got a lot of help from Fab Racing through his journey up into the ranks.
Yeah, I suppose he did. We were sort of managerial, but managerial with no sort of income, which was a bit strange. But I think we helped him at least as far as Moto2 and into year one of Moto2, and I think we helped him to his first ever podium in Moto2. We actually took him to CEV, I think as well, to start with, where he produced the goods and got straight into Grand Prix and became at that time the youngest ever winner.
Yeah, well, we've seen how well the Fab Racing, how well the formula works here, and at the moment it definitely seems to be stronger than ever before.
I think it is. The class of 21 or 22 50s, I think it is. I can't remember exactly, but that's a pretty good number to have. We're a bit down on 70s, but that's because half the field has moved on to British Talent Cup. The grid at British Talent Cup is 80% Fab Racing riders, some of whom have come straight from Mini GP70 or MK GP70, we're now going to call it, because we're now building that bike in the UK. We were nearly to the point of building a complete motorcycle here in the UK, and that will be...
So we've seen the Metric GP70s machines and the 50s in the junior classes for a long time. What's made these bikes such a strong package for riders coming up through the ranks?
Well, the design was originally, the chassis was designed by someone who designs MotoGP chassis, so he should know what he's doing. The development was done by two GP riders in actual fact. Both of them were fairly small, so they could develop these. And we had Maverick Vinales as the first test rider in Spain, and people like Zarco from abroad, he's come through the Metrikit system. And it will be called the MK, because we don't own the Metrikit name, I'll be very honest with you. We now own the rights to manufacture the bikes, but we'll keep the MK because it could be Moto Keys, for example. We're not sure what we'll call it exactly yet, but we will keep the MK and work from that. But the bike is very good because it's a two-stroke, difficult to ride. We want it to be difficult to ride because they've got to learn to keep the revs up, to keep in the right gear. Getting the wrong gear just ain't going to come out the corners. And all that type of mode of the machine makes them a better ride all the way around. So we shall stick to two strokes, both for the 40cc, three classes of the mini motos, because they go sort of rookies, pro, elite, MK50s, and then MK70s, which means that they have a nice progressive ladder. From MK70s, they are going straight to BTC bikes. I almost think I'm blown away by the fact they can ride them straight away. But I think that's their two-stroke heritage, because if you can ride that, you're used to limited revs, less low-down punch, which is more like a race bike, even if it is a four-stroke, and that works really, really well.
Yeah, and we've seen that the bikes have been in the championship for a very long time now, and even back when I was racing the championship 8 years ago, they were running the MK GP 50 and 70 machines. So how much have the bikes changed and evolved over the years?
Almost, well, very, very little on the chassis. We've had three different engines. We started with the Minarelli engine, then the Derby, and then the MK engine, and then we'll have the MK UK engine very, very shortly.
Okay, brilliant to hear. A formula that's proved to work very well in the Fab Racing Mini Bike British Championships. Thank you, Roger, for joining us, and best of luck with keeping on top of everything this weekend.
Thank you very much.
So the rain still coming down quite hard here at Wilton Mill and keeping that track nice and greasy for these riders. Hopefully we will be seeing some action soon as we see a bit of a spot of lightning as well outside, so the track getting quite treacherous for these riders at the moment. We expect to see some wet weather action very shortly. The riders are getting those wet weather tyres into their bikes. Thank you for tuning in here for the Fab Racing Mini Bike British Championships round 4 here at Wilton Mill. Whether you're watching live on Fab Racing's YouTube, Facebook or Twitter, as well as on Motorsport Radio's YouTube, Facebook, Twitter and Twitch, or whether you're listening on Motorsport Radio, the world's only 24/7 dedicated motorsport radio station with many shows, clips and music, plenty of action happening on Motorsport Radio, so make sure to tune in there as well. But a lot of exciting action going on as well here at Wilton Mill as well.
Yeah, I'm back, and that was nice. I had a chance to sit down there and just take a quick break. But yeah, it's great to hear from Roger. It's been brilliant. I'm completely new to the world of two wheels, so to come into this series and be able to cover it, and he's taught me so much and about the history and equally about how everything works here. So it's really good to hear from him there and a little bit more in depth, and equally good for you guys out there to hear from the man that creates all this and make sure everything is all working. But yeah, it's been brilliant to hear from the likes of Roger and yourself just chatting away. You must have enjoyed that one, talking to him and just chewing the cud about the history of Fab.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always interesting to speak to Roger. He's really helpful in the weekends and always gives us all the relevant information. And it's interesting to hear about how Fab Racing, how the Metro kits have evolved, and they've become the MK GP50 and MK GP70 class, and how that's all evolving, and how that formula works so well, as we've seen with so many riders making their way up through the Fab Racing Mini Bike British Championships and into, like we've always said, British Talent Cup. Scott Redding, that Roger Keys mentioned, who's we all know Scott Redding, been a MotoGP rider, almost a Moto2 champion at one point, and doing really well, BSB champion, and doing really well at World Superbike at the moment as well. So always interesting to hear from Roger, and gave us a lot of insight into the fabrics of Fab Racing.
Yeah, and keeping it all going very smoothly here, and just even in this extended break, able to just quickly jump out and give us a couple of moments of his time just to go through a few things. And yeah, well done. That was a lot of talking you've done there. A stellar job so far you've been running in this extended break. We have had a little bit of a storm brushing itself over the circuit, so it's going to be, and that's not Storm Stacey. He's not been brushing the circuit. Is very much the weather version has been I've been told not to make puns about Storm Stacey's name, so I'll keep it to that one. But yeah, it's going to be a little bit. Hopefully we'll be going racing soon. The sidecars have been waiting in the pit lane, just waiting to come out on circuit. I'm sure as I hear a few engines being fired up behind me, so hopefully we might see some action very, very shortly. And apologies to those in the paddock that have got a slight distorted sound coming out of the tannoy in the PA system. Unfortunately, that is due to the track's older, I would imagine, system, as opposed to what you can hear here if you're watching the live stream. But yeah, we will, of course, you can watch it all back by going to the YouTube, the Facebook channels, and of course, if you have already liked the Facebook channel, you can watch extended highlights and clips of each round, of each race, and each class. So yeah, you can find, if you just want to watch the Extreme 200s, then you can just watch the Extreme 200s. They all will be uploaded later this week, as we do have some action out on circuit. So even with the rain drizzling down here at Wilton Mill, we've now got some sidecar action, and this is what we've been waiting for.
Yeah, absolutely. Finally got some on-track action now as the mini F1 sidecars go out on their formation lap to form up onto the grid. Their formation lap counts as a warm-up lap here at Wilton Mills, so they'll be onto the grid, but possibly doing 2 warm-up laps here to assess the track conditions. So they're just having a look at the track conditions now. You can see just trying to find where the grip is already on this circuit, but we've heard about how slippery this track can be in the wet, so expect to see some exciting action to come.
Yep, very much so, and we know that out front will be the ride, or the 2 riders, or 1 rider and 1 passenger of Mick Williams and Michael Elms. So Mick Williams was considerably faster than anyone else in the qualifying sessions, and I'm sure that the pair of them will be looking at opening up their season in exactly how they want, and that's the 26 you can see on screen there in the blue and yellow that will be coming around to the red flag to line up into the number 1 grid slot, which they owned, and it's absolutely dominating in qualifying. So you can see a couple of the other riders and passengers making their way around. We've got one up at the top, Ben, just trying to push start and bump the bike back into action, but you can see everyone just coasting around, just trying to find just where it may be a little bit slipperier. Of course, this is the first race that we're going to see in wet conditions, so this is a race into the unknown for many.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's a race into the unknown for us as well. The first time we're going to see some sidecar action this year, but like you say, Mick Williams doing a brilliant job to absolutely dominate at the front during the practices and the qualifying, so we'd expect to see him dominate at the front, but with some wet weather here at Wilton Mill, anything can happen now. Everything is completely up in the air, and anyone really, any riders or drivers can make their way up into the front of this race. Iona Glover there, you can see, was a passenger there on the grid. She did really well in the wet on a pit bike back at Lydd, picking up 4th place, I believe it was. So she did really well back there, so possibly might come into her own in this one as well, with alongside her driver there, who Dave Glover.
Yeah, so expect to see plenty of action here as they all line up. Look to the lights to get their season started. It's the sidecars leading us away here at Wilton Mill to open up their 2020 season. Lights out, and away they head off down towards Oblivion at turn 1, and sweeping up into lead is that 26 of Mick Williams and Michael Elms. Good start off the line, you can see already building a lead. The 44 in a second. The passengers leaning forward to get as much momentum into the corners. It's an uphill section into Christmas Corner, so that's probably where they're going to be their weakest. You can see side by side there between 2 of the bikes, and as we say, it's a sighted out. You can see sliding out of turn 5, so track conditions very tricky indeed, and this makes it harder for these passengers because they've really got to make sure that they've positioned themselves on the bike correctly.
Yeah, absolutely, and I can't imagine it's going to be terribly pleasant with all the spray they're going to be getting there as well, and possibly some slippy outfits as well. So it will be tough conditions for all of these outfits out on track at the moment. But it's Mick Williams who's out the front doing a brilliant job with his passenger Michael Elms, number 44. You can see in the shot there. That's Mick Lee with his passenger as well, Daniel Lee. So definitely some exciting action at the front as Adrian Ems comes across the line on our timing screens to be leading this one, as we're seeing a big slide out of the final corner there for the 2 Glovers there. That's Dave Glover and Iona Glover there getting sideways out of the last corner, making a move, but then losing move into Oblivion.
Yeah, you can see the different positioning of each passenger into these corners. So leaning right over to the right-hand side of the bike is the passenger on the leading bike. That's Michael Elms and Mick Williams. And you can see just the positioning that Iona Glover was right down, almost helmet scratching along the ground, whereas the bike in front has had a much more upright position. So it's interesting to see. This is brand new for us as much as it is for them and for you watching. So it's really interesting to see different positioning from these passengers, how they navigate their way around this tricky. You could see almost drifting out there of the boot at turn 10. So brilliant bike control. The 44 looking a little bit more planted coming out of that turn 10 as they cross the line to start the next lap. But it's a brilliant start to this one. The bike spread out a bit, but bike control right up there.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant stuff from them controlling these outfits going around this circuit, but it's still Mick Williams and Michael Elms leading this one ahead of the number 76 of Adrian Ems. Perhaps some transponder problems for Mick Williams because he's not coming up on our timing screens or on the tower, so that's possibly down to some technical issues with his transponder coming from race control. But it is the number 26 then leading Mick Williams and Michael Elms. The number 230 we can see in our shot now rounding out the podium at the moment is Mark Parker.
There's a spin for the 230.
He spins out and tries to rejoin this race, so hasn't lost any positions as of yet, so still in third place in this race, but a hairy moment there on the other side of the circuit. You
can see just the mist on the circuit as the rain comes down, so tricky conditions, and no doubt that's probably not the last spin, the last mistake we'll see, as the number 3 of Dave and Io Glover just about holding on to it, getting slightly squiffed there on the exit of turn 6, and that's Ashby Corner, and now in towards turn 7 at Wilkins and Ozier's in turn 8. It's almost a hairpin like bend straight into a quick right flick at the exit of turn 8. So Iona right down, leaning right over the bike, so doing a great job trying to keep that one pointing in the right direction. Coming across the line, Mick Williams has done a purple lap of 1:08, currently 4 seconds faster than anyone else, and just absolutely running away with this one, which is what we expected from qualifying, but it's great to see them in action.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant stuff from Mick Williams. He was dominating in the dry and now dominating in the wet as well. So Mick Williams and Michael Elms in an absolute world of their own at the front of this race. Mark Parker doing well to round out the podium. Vince Bailey, a name we know from the Moto team class, also there in 4th position in this race with Amy Tilbrook as a passenger on that outfit. So a lot of familiar names as well in this one as well, Gareth.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to see a lot of riders, as we see through the majority of the younger age categories, choosing to ride on different bikes, that the adults can give it a go and they come out on their pit bikes or their extremes, and equally the Moto teams, as we see from Vince Bailey, and now onto the sidecars. Drifting through Christmas Corner goes the 26. What superb control from the pair of them there, and you can see this is why they're picking up so much time. And those extra wheel at the back, almost like the rear end of a go-kart, allowing you to hold on to that slide.
Absolutely, and you could just hear it as well. The revs rising as they were struggling for grip out of turn 6 as well. So sliding all around this circuit, very slippery in the wet. But the number 26 doing a really good job, as we see a crash there down at turn 2. So that's an outfit out of this race, looking quite perplexed and confused, but not looking like they're able to rejoin at the moment. But using every inch of the track is Mick Williams and Michael Elms coming through the final corner, right on the paint as they headed into the final corner on that lap. So really brave stuff as well from Mick Williams.
Yeah, right on that level of adhesion. And there you go. There goes the race leader circulating this last lap. I believe as they come in, the right and passenger leaning to that right hand side, now into the left, and the exit of turn 4. It's a tricky corner, and they made it look easy as anything. And now in towards turn 6, hairpin like bend towards and that's Ashby, in towards turn 7 and turn 8. Turn 7 being Wilkins and turn 8 being Ozier's, and a little bit of lap traffic's going to hold them up on this last lap, but I'm sure it won't hinder them too much as they get past the number 19. That's Jason Greenstreet and Leo Greenstreet. And through go the leaders, and they come up to the final 2 corners on this one, and they're coming up to end their first race of this season. And the 26 of Mick Williams and Michael Elms have absolutely dominated from the start and up to the line, drifting out the final corner, coming across the line, taking the checkered flag. what a win there for Elms and for Williams. Absolutely blowing the field away, circulating almost 5 seconds a lap faster than anyone else.
Yeah, they did it in the dry, and we thought we might have a treat in the wet, and we certainly did, as they absolutely flew away at the front and showed some really superior paces. You can just see them there, just making sure that their competitors are all right there with the number 230 outfit which being fronted by Mark Parker. So they're all showing some great sportsmanship, coming together, making sure everyone's all right, and brilliant stuff from all of them. But it was the number 26 who was absolutely dominant at the front with that little Red Bull inspired livery on that outfit. So awesome stuff from the front as they come into the pits. That was the first race for the Mini F1 sidecars this year. They were absent from the first couple of rounds, but they are back and giving us some real exciting action. It was really good to see the outfit control from all these guys and them sliding around this Wilton Mill circuit.
Yeah, and we will bring you the top three of that race as soon as we have confirmation from the timing screen. So yeah, but it was a dominant victory there for the 26 Mick Williams and Michael Elms, and they opened their weekend in exactly the style that I would imagine they were expecting after their domination in qualifying. But umbrellas up for everyone in the paddock as they try and keep away from this rain that's drizzling down across the circuit now, and the marshals under bright orange ponchos. So it's turned into a slightly more miserable day from what we saw. I mean, yesterday evening was a beautiful evening. Me and you were just standing on the top of the circuit as we've got a couple of the riders giving us a wave there at the top end of the circuit. But yeah, it was a beautiful evening. Completely different conditions now, and you can see it's the sidecars have opened up the first race in this wet conditions, and yeah, they did it in style.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they definitely did it in style, sliding their way around this. We saw a lot of drifting in that one as they were just playing with the grip levels out there. But great race from the first time of the season for the Mini F1 sidecars here at Wilton Mill. Expect to see two more races from them this weekend, coming up tomorrow in hopefully some better conditions, although it's looking like we may see some similar conditions tomorrow. Yeah,
so this might be a little bit of a precursor to what we find in Sunday. So yeah, great race there to open up this. We expect to, well, it's a great race, sorry, to start off this wet weather running that we saw after a first race that was under dry, and now completely different conditions. So it's probably caught out everyone in the paddock there to rush, get their wet tyres ready, and a couple of riders probably miserably drinking a cup of tea or coffee in there, just trying to warm up as the weather came over, and thinking, oh, I really didn't want it to rain today. But now there you go, mini moto action out on circuit, and there we go. We can notice we've got Archie Gibbs in that flag of St George cross helmet. You can see with the red and white. Marco Holt has got the green Monsters Inc. inspired lid. As you can see, we've always noted throughout the scene how much we're a big fan of that. We'll see Bailey Lawrence, it looks like we've got back there as well. So yeah, plenty of riders out on circuit very, very shortly. Now, 3 wheels on that last race, 2 wheels on this one. How much trickier is it going to be?
Well, it's definitely going to be very treacherous for them out there with some really slippery conditions, as we saw. We saw the three-wheel outfits there of the sidecars just sliding their way around, drifting it around. It's going to be a little bit more difficult for these little riders to drift on 2 wheels, but expect to see some exciting action nonetheless. Ethan Sparks is who's leading this championship and hasn't finished off of the podium so far this season. We've seen that he struggled in the wet at the moment, but he's back out and looking to be confident this weekend, but the wet weather's going to throw up something completely different for all of them.
Yeah, Tristan almost just tripped over his microphone there, which is why he almost giggled himself away, but kept himself on 2 feet. But yeah, Ethan Sparks leading the way. 24 points he's got over Joshua Williams, and 61 back to Archie Gibbs. But yeah, so Archie, he's been looking strong in the practice sessions. He'll be looking at reeling in some points on Ethan Sparks as the riders make their way out on circuit. Archie Gibbs will be the first one out there, and he will be lining up on the pole with a time of 56.434. he finished ahead of Ethan Sparks, so Ethan Sparks championship leader in second place. Joshua Williams back in third as the top three in the championship line up first, second and third. Marco Holt in fourth, good qualifying for Marco there. Wilson Dilks, we saw him take a podium in the wet in Lid, so he will be, well, eyes are probably lit up a little bit with his wet face, so he's in fifth position. Archie O'Brien in sixth, with Thorley Trevorrow in seventh, Luke Fitchett in eighth, with Harry Payne in ninth, Bill Harris lining up in 10th, with Noah Guillory in 11th, and Bailey Lawrence rounding out the grid in 12th position and last on the in the pack. But yeah, this is once again Archie Gibbs, Ethan Sparks, Joshua Williams, the three that we expected to see at the front. That's what we've got at the front. It's all going to be on Ethan Sparks. Can he extend this lead in the championship, or will we see the likes of Archie Gibbs, Joshua Williams, or even the likes of Wilson Dilks, Marco Holt reel him in, knowing that Ethan maybe, we'll see if he translates it from what we saw at Lid, maybe a little bit weaker in the wet than what he is in the dry.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, anything can happen now with these conditions. I mean, we've seen the top three, like we say, that we expect to be at the front, have been at the front this weekend in practice and qualifying, but now something completely different. They've had one formation lap for them to suss out the track conditions here at Wilton Mill, but definitely going to be going into this one blind. They've done all their track time in the dry, so this is going to throw up something completely different for these riders as they line up on the grid to start their first race of round 4 for the AC40 Pros. All these riders on air-cooled 40cc two-stroke mini motos with restrictor plates fitted to these bikes, and they'll be looking to move up the next step to the faster liquid cool bikes, but at the moment their attention is completely on this wet weather race 1 here at Wilton Mill. Ethan Sparks, your championship leader, he's on the front row just behind Archie Gibbs, as all eyes go to the lights as we get ready to get this race underway, and the lights are out and they are away, and it's a good start there from Archie Gibbs from pole position, maintains the lead as they drop into oblivion for the first time. Thorley Trevorrow going round the outside of many riders there at turn 2, and it's a big gaggle of riders coming onto the back straight for the first time as they go into Christmas corner. Archie Gibbs with a little bit of breathing space as we saw it a rider down, and Archie Gibbs has gone down there at the top of the circuit, and his bike takes out Ethan Sparks. So drama at Christmas corner with Archie Gibbs, the number 3, going down and collecting the number 62 of Ethan Sparks. So that's your first and third in the championship down as they try to get their bike ready and underway, and the number 42 there as well of Thorley Trevorrow, who's just signalling and trying to get his bike back into this race as well. He went down also at Christmas corner. Archie Gibbs doesn't seem to like he can get that bike started and back into this race, so we said how treacherous these conditions are, and 3 riders down in one corner. Yeah,
it's a very, very tricky corner. It's an off camber uphill with a downhill exit, so yeah, these bikes, it was the first time they've been out there. We've got another rider down as well, up on their feet, so yeah, it's very tricky indeed for all of these riders. It's their first attempt. We've got another down at the final corner, but yeah, so you can see all these riders struggling out there in these wet conditions. Across the line was Luke Fitchett from Bill Harris, so it's it's a chaotic start.
Yeah, and that's the number 91 of Archie O'Brien, who went down at the final corner there and managed to get restarted. So many riders crashing out of this race as we see a big gaggle going into Christmas corner. Once again, they'll all make it through safely this time around. But it's the number 14 at the moment of Bill Harris, who's eking out a gap at the front now, ahead of the number 7 of Luke Fitchett. You can see Ethan Sparks after being collected, and that's a rider down. That is the number 14 of Bill Harris. So Bill Harris, after looking really strong at the front, has crashed out down at turn 6. So he's back on two wheels and looking to make up for some lost ground there as we quite a dramatic start to this race.
Yeah, this has been exciting. You don't really know where to look, and you can see all the riders just tentatively making their way through the turn 9 into turn 10. Very, very careful on that throttle on the exit, and that was the 67 there making their way forward, and You can see on exit everyone trying to move out the way of any standing water. Marco Holt trying to peel to the inside there and take position and gets past Noah Guillory. So Marco Holt now up into 4th. But it seems we've got the number 7 of Luke Fitchett leading this one. Ethan Sparks has made his way back up, but had a slow lap. But Luke Fitchett, great start for him. Noah Guillory, who is having a brilliant race so far.
Yeah, Noah Guillory doing really well up into 3rd spot at the moment, but it's Sparks now who's taken the lead from Luke Fitchett, as we see the number 14 down once more. That's your rider who went down earlier on, crashing out once again, and that's number 42 of Thorley Trevorrow, who's gone down once more as well. So Thorley Trevorrow down at the final corner as that bike gets wheeled away from the side of the circuit. So not the way that he wanted this race to go at all. But out the front then, Ethan Sparks, we were saying that he was struggling in the wet lid, but looking like he's really doing well to find the grip in these conditions here at Wilton Mill, and just doing extremely well to find grip that no one else seems to be able to find at the moment. He had a 0.8 of a second lead across the line over Luke Fitchett, and Marco Holt there with that helmet that we keep going on about there in 3rd position. And that's the number 14 once more, is just trying to get back onto circuit there. That's Bill Harris, who was having a really strong start to the race. But and that's Ethan Sparks that's gone down, the number 62, as your race leader, who's now gone down and rejoining this race. So it seems like no one actually wants to be leading this race, Gareth.
No, that's the second time Ethan's gone down. Unfortunately, this is the first time he's gone down on his own steam. He was unfortunately wiped out by the bike of Archie Gibbs earlier on in lap 1, but he's now got some work to do, and that's going to promote Luke Fitchett, Marco Holt and Harry Payne. Harry Payne is challenging Marco Holt for a decent podium, and this is really opening up. Like we said, the wet weather really opens up the grid and allows those maybe a little bit more careful to start challenging further forward. So Luke Fitchett is now your leader. Marco Holt and Harry Payne are going with them. So it's a battle of wits, really, a battle of nerve and keeping off on the you can see a little bit of standing water as down goes Harry Payne. So the last corner has caught out another. We saw it take down Thorley Trevorrow last time round. He's just frustratingly trying to get back on the bike, but that's the number 11 there of Harry Payne as he's on the final corner. A lot of pick-up on the exit of the corner. It's a very aggressive curb there as well on the inside and on the outside. But there you go. You still got your leading trio. Now it is Luke Fitchett, Marco Holt, and now Archie O'Brien that has made his way up into 3rd. Noah Guillory down in 4th.
Yeah, Luke Fitchett, a really clever ride there. He's just feeling where the grip is, as we see another rider down and rejoining this race as well. That's the 41 of Noah Guillory, who's getting back into this race again. So riders going down left, right and centre, all in your picture. But one rider who's doing really well to feel where the conditions are is number 7 of Luke Fitchett. Hasn't pushed too hard. That's the number 42 of Thorley Trevorrow down again at turn 9 there. So that's 3 crashes now for Thorley. So really unfortunate scenes for him. Not the way he wanted his race to go, but it's the number 7 who's riding a real smart race. And so is Marco Holt. Archie O'Brien, who we saw go down earlier on, he's got some real good pace at the moment. He's climbing through and making his way further up. And that's Ethan Sparks down as well, and he's just caught under the bike there. So Ethan Sparks went down at the final corner, who was leading earlier on, and your championship leader. And looks like Marco Holt's got some technical problems. Marco Holt is coming off at the side of the circuit. He looks distraught. Not the way he wanted to have this race, although he's getting back onto the circuit now. So perhaps whatever happened there, he's managed to sort it out and get back onto the circuit. But it's Luke Fitchett, like we've been saying, who's really who's been riding really well out the front now. But it's a red flag in this race. So it looks like your provisional winner at the moment is going to be Luke Fitchett from Archie O'Brien, and Marco Holt, who came across our timing screens in 3rd but did have a problem on that last lap, so we'll have to wait for a confirmed result in this one. But action all in this race, Gareth, and we just didn't know where to look.
No, not at all. And these young riders, you've got to remember that they're upwards of 6 years old. They're out there learning the trade, learning the craft out in tricky conditions. And it's unfortunate to see them go down, but it is Luke Fitchett that pretty much controlled that one. As soon as he got to the front, he took it calm. He was tentatively, calmly, and just making sure that he got around each corner without losing any time, and held on to at least about a second's lead throughout the entirety of that one. Archie O'Brien came home in second, with Michael Holt provisionally in third. We saw him go off to the side of the circuit, so Marco Holt potentially we'll have to check that one. Noah Guillory, brilliant result for Noah in fourth position. Harry Payne in fifth, with Joshua Williams sixth. Bill Harris suffering with a couple of falls in that one in seventh. Archie Gibbs in eighth. Dorley Trevorrow after a couple of falls in ninth, and then Wilson Dilks and Bailey Lawrence did not make it to the end. Of course, these are provisional results, so we will make sure they are confirmed as soon as possible. But a tricky race out there for the EAC 40 pros.
Yeah, absolutely, and you could see the pace was quite a bit slower in the wet there, 1:14s as opposed to 56s we were seeing earlier on. So you can just see how slippery this circuit is when it does get wet. So when we saw that in the amount of crashes we saw, 3 on the first lap, or 3 in one corner rather, up at Christmas Corner. So that's going to be one we're going to have to look out for as we see more races later on today. And the final corner as well looks really treacherous. We had a few crashes there as well. All equally turn 6 caught out a few. So we've got quite a few riders for these, quite a few corners for these riders to keep their eye on. Yeah,
and so I'd imagine that a lot of the other categories that will be out very shortly would have had an eye on this race and just seeing where some of the younger riders are struggling, are having issues. The likes of Christmas Corner, it'll be the first time that a lot of these guys will attempt that corner in these conditions this weekend. So it's gonna be you can see that's the conditions we've got this weekend. Hello to everyone on the balcony, umbrellas up, keeping warm, keeping dry, and it's going to be pretty miserable, drizzly, and probably the least favourable conditions. You'd either want it to come down completely, or you want it to use that fine rain that soaks you through. I think with the phrase that was coined by Peter Kay. But it does make the racing exciting, as we saw from the 80/40s.
Yeah, absolutely. Exciting is definitely the word, with especially with that race we just saw riders flying off in all directions. Thankfully, all of them up and okay, and some brilliant racing as well. I thought the number 7 of Luke Fitchett, who's taken the provisional win at the moment, I thought he rode a really clever and smart race there. Felt the conditions enough to be able to lead the race, but was able to stay on that machine, and was one of the few riders that managed to do that. A lot of riders crashed out and rejoined, but Luke Fitchett did a brilliant job and a very, very level-headed and clever job, I feel, at the front of that one. Yeah,
very much so. That's turn 6 there you see on screen. It's looking pretty damp, so probably not ideal for riding anything on 2 wheels. But you can see there's a big thank you to all the marshals who are doing a great job out there, making sure that everything is running smoothly, getting the bikes restarted when we've seen them have issues and pulled to the side, and getting them back in the race. And I'm sure plenty of those riders in that last race will be thankful for these marshals, the likes of Harry Payne, who went down and managed to come home in 5th position. So it's a hard job, but it's got to be done by someone, and the marshals do a great job out there on track for us, and equally the medics who are making sure that everyone's safe. So a big thanks to everyone out there that gives their time to come and make sure that we can go racing here for Fab Racing Mini Bike British Championships here for round 4, Wilton Mill. Round 5 will be emanating from Ella Park in 2 weeks' time over in Suffolk, the weekend of the 29th and 30th of August. So watch out for that one in 2 weeks' time. Now, out on circuit next, we've got the 80/40 rookies. Now, we've just seen the pro class. This is the step below. It's a cup class, so it's not an official championship. However, that hasn't stopped the racing being any less exciting. We've seen Austin Johnson, Byron Johnson, Finley Powell, Freddie Bridewell, the likes of those absolutely going at each other. Austin Johnson and Byron Johnson in Clay Pigeon just 2 weeks ago, coming across the line with Byron snatching the win. win. We heard from him earlier from his brother by, I think it was 0.008 of a second across the line. So yeah, the action, the intensity, no less than any other category here this weekend.
No, absolutely, some brilliant sibling rivalry going on in this class between Byron Johnson and Austin Johnson. Finley Polehill getting in the mix as well. We've seen Finley Polehill's been really quick at the front of this class, but just suffered from a couple of crashes this year, which has mean he hasn't quite got the tally of points that he would have had if he was able to finish those races. But this class, like you say, it's a cup. It's not a championship, so there's no championship standings in effect in this AC40 Rookies Cup. But once a rider gets to 243 points in this class, they're promoted up into the AC40 Pros, or when Fab Racing deem that they are ready to move up into the AC40 Pros. A lot of these riders in their first season of racing. Big shout out to the photographer getting soaked there, getting a picture of these riders as they go out onto the grid in that bright orange, just keeping himself dry.
Yeah, let's hope they don't think it's a tie bar, as we've got a bike down already. So yeah, very, very tricky already, and we've seen the pros struggle, and now it's the rookies that have got to go out there. And of course, this is the entry level here at Fab. So these riders in their first season, and it is going to be Austin Johnson on pole position, a 102.498 in the dry, ahead of Finley Polehill by 0.4 of a second. Byron Johnson, who is leading this cup, currently in third place, with Freddie Bridewell in fourth. Valentino Kimi Kirk, that's a new name we've heard this weekend. He got a decent fifth position in qualifying, with Travis Shaw in sixth, Lewis Hull in seventh, with Oliver Hall. Those two seem to be attached by the hip this season, with Oliver Hall in eighth, Zach Pendergar, who we heard from earlier, in ninth, with Chloe Sewell in 10th place, Bethany Ashby in 11th, with Callum Maxwell in 12th, and Aidan Belton in 13th position. But yeah, once again, it's the likes of Austin Johnson, Finley Polehill, Byron Johnson, Freddie Bridewell. They seem to be up there every single weekend.
Yeah, absolutely joined by the hip of these riders. Austin Johnson on pole position with very close in times in front of Finley Polehill, Byron Johnson, and equally Freddie Bridewell. A name that we're not seeing this weekend is fourth place man in the championship, number 15, Harrison Day. He's not here this weekend, as we see rider down again there. That's another rider down on this sighting lap. So very slippery conditions out there. These riders learning all the time, and a couple of riders have just learned how slippery Wilton Mill is in the wet.
Yeah, and that's up at Christmas Corner, which is where we saw the action happen in lap one in the pro class, where we saw, of course, Archie Gibbs falling and his bike going into Ethan Sparks as the two leaders in the championship, taking each other out at turn 3 on the first lap. So yeah, it's a tricky circuit out there, and already some of these riders on this sighter lap are getting used to it. It's a off camber uphill apex and a downhill exit to a quick left-hander. So we even saw in the dry, it's a tricky corner. In the wet, it's got to be something else.
Yeah, absolutely. It's we saw a few riders get caught out there earlier on, like you say, and one rider getting caught out on the sighting lap in this one, but getting started again and getting back out onto the grid. You could just see there that rider had thicker knee sliders on those leathers for the wet weather conditions. That's so they can get their knee down without having as much lean angle in these tricky conditions with more plastic on there. It obviously takes less lean angle before they start scraping those knees.
That's why you're here, to teach me things like that I wouldn't put away, what I wouldn't otherwise know. So there's a reason why you're here. So yeah,
that's good to know.
But yeah, Austin Johnson lining up on pole position alongside Finley Polehill. Byron Johnson will be thinking that he's got a chance in this one. Of course, it's all about staying on two wheels, and that is already shown, but not only in the youth category with the mini motos, but also what we saw with the sidecars. We saw sidecars going sideways and pointing in the wrong direction. So it is tricky out there for everyone. But all the riders on the grid now, umbrellas over, trying to keep them relatively dry, with stopping the rain getting down onto the visors. The last thing you want is a misty visor in these conditions. But it's going to be a fascinating start to this one. Who can keep their calm? Who's going to make that tentative start to this race in these tricky and wet conditions? We've got one bike starting from the pit lane, so they will wait until the rest of the pack leave the grid and cross the line, and then they will be released from the pit lane. And but you've got to think, if you're Austin Johnson, he can see Byron, who's kind of stolen a couple of race wins away from him this season. He's going to want to come back strong. We spoke to Austin, and he's got his mind set on picking up some decent wins this weekend. The riders look to the lights as we get ready to go here for the AC40 Rookie Cup competition. Red lights on, red lights off, as they start to get the bikes rolling, and it's a good start there from the second place rider. That's Finley Polhill up into first position. It's a slower start from Austin. You can see already a lot of standing water out on circuit, so it's going to be hard for these riders in their first lap at race pace as they come up the hill towards Christmas Corner. Great getaway there from Finley Polhill as Austin Johnson is sweeping. It's Byron Johnson, I believe. So sweeping to the inside and gets past Finley. So Christmas Corner catches out. There's one rider down already, a second rider down. So like we saw in the Pro class, very tricky at this turn 3, turn 4.
Yeah, absolutely. A very tricky part of the circuit as the riders try and get back onto their bikes and get restarted in this race. We saw it take out 3 riders in the AC40 Pros. And now that's Finley Polhill down on the far end of the circuit, gets back onto his bike and tries to get restarted. Looked as if he was struggling for grip, and unfortunately crashes out, but now back into this race and looking to make up for lost time. Looking back to the front then, Travis Shaw has got right onto the back wheel, and that's Freddie Bridewell down as well now. So Freddie Bridewell getting his bike restarted, facing the wrong way, trying to get back into this race. So a lot of riders down on this opening lap, but it's Byron Johnson that comes across the line for the first time leading this race.
Yeah, a 6-second lead after the exit of the first, or the start of the second lap. So a brilliant first lap there from Byron, starting from third on the grid. Travis Shaw in second. Callum Maxwell has made his way all the way up from 12th on the grid into third. So what a brilliant start from Callum Maxwell. Freddie Bridewell had dropped down to fourth. Lewis Holt and Oliver Hall still close together. Chloe Sewell is in eighth, and down once again goes Finley Polhill up at Christmas Corner. So Finley, we've seen that he's had a fall at Lid and got back on the pace. There was another rider behind that went down at Christmas Corner. So it's all happening up there at the top of the circuit.
Yeah, that's Freddie Bridewell that went down at the top of the circuit. Now, so that's 2 crashes in succession for Freddie as well as for Finley Polhill. We see another rider down there at Christmas Corner. So Christmas Corner absolutely taking out everyone, and another rider down as well there. So they're going down like Skittles at the moment. Thankfully, all up and okay and getting restarted in this race.
Yeah, this is one question we actually spoke about when we were standing at the top of the circuit yesterday. I said, what's this like? Because it's such a quick change of direction off camber. What's it like in the dry, and what's it like in the wet? And you said it's a particularly difficult corner in the dry, let alone these wet conditions. And all of these riders are proving that. Byron Johnson, however, has decided to do a lap 5 seconds faster than anyone else. And the young man who we spoke to, he's gone out there and he's doing a stellar job so far, as down goes another one of the riders. That's the 468 who is down at the back end of the circuit. And but yeah, there is the 134 of Zach Penegar on screen, and he is currently circulating quite nicely. And yeah, we've still got riders going. It's very, very hard for these guys out there. You can see just how much they're struggling.
Yeah, really, really treacherous conditions out there on this greasy Wilton Mill circuit. Byron Johnson doing a brilliant job out front as this rider just gets back restarted. A sight we've seen non-stop so far this weekend. But yeah, Byron Johnson doing a brilliant job out front. Like you said, on that last lap was 5 seconds faster than anyone else. Doesn't quite need to be that much quicker than anyone else. Has an 11-second lead lead at the moment, and can pretty much just cruise home now if he wants to, and just make sure he stays on that bike. He told us that he likes winning, and he's doing a good job of it at the moment. Travis Shaw in second place will pick up his maiden podium. So Travis Shaw doing a brilliant job in second place. As we hear a bike going down, that's Travis Shaw, who I was just talking about. Travis Shaw's gone down at the final corner, and he's getting back onto his bike, just falls over his bike there, so he's going to have to get back on and out onto the grid as he gets that bike restarted. So really unfortunate for Travis Shaw. I was just singing his praises, and unfortunately he's gone down now there, as Johnson now has a 16-second lead over his brother Austin Johnson. So Byron Johnson out the front doing a brilliant job, but like I said, Gareth, he doesn't need to be this quick.
No, he doesn't, but he's, as I obviously, I don't want to say anything now because the dreaded commentator's curse is all too evident at plenty of these races. But yeah, Byron Johnson, an absolutely mega race from the young man so far. 16 seconds up ahead. He's circulating 3 seconds a lap faster than his brother Austin, who's made his way back up to second even after that fall. Callum Maxwell is once again up in third. So Callum, after starting in 12th, is currently on the podium with Finley Polehill, who's made his way back up to fourth. So you can see these riders going down has not hindered some of them. Finley recovering some positions. He started in second. He's only now dropped to fourth place. But yeah, Byron Johnson coming across the line, and once again having a great race. The young man, the 37, is really showing off that he's got commitment, speed in both the wet and the dry.
Yeah, he's doing such a good job to feel for these conditions and have good, strong wet weather pace that's absolutely blowing the field away at the moment. So like we said, he doesn't need to be this quick, but it's frankly extremely impressive what he's able to do out there. Won't have had a great deal of experience in the wet, as Finley Polehill, after another crash, looks like he's coming back into the paddock. So that's race over for Finley Polehill with 3 laps to go in this race. Byron Johnson still leading by almost 20 seconds now ahead of Austin Johnson, his brother.
Yeah, brilliant race from both the Johnsons, and Austin is holding off Callum Maxwell. Travis Shaw, who after that fall at the final corner, is in fourth position. Lewis Hull. Chloe Sewell, good result so far for Chloe. She's made her way up from 10th into 6th place as well, so she'll be picking up some points in the Cup 1 competition. But yeah, it is the 37 of Byron Johnson that is really enjoying himself out there, finding all the right lines, staying off of any particularly wet places, any of the white lines that will be very slippery in these conditions, and doing a great job with coming on to the penultimate lap of this one. Just 2 to go, and you can see, just looking behind him, don't worry, there is no one in sight. You just need to stay on that bike and you will be picking up a dominant victory here, race 1 in the AC40 Rookies.
Yeah, he will. 20-second lead now across the line over his brother. You can just see him just leading off the bike there to try and make sure he's getting his weight off. A little bit of a moment there through the turn 5 of Inkermans, heading into turn 6, taking a very narrow line, looking behind. Don't get too distracted, Byron. You've got a nice hefty lead at the front, but make sure you keep your head down and finish this race. Doesn't need to push hard now. He's put the hammer down in the early stage of this race, and it's worked out really well for him, as we see the rider go down once again. They're rejoining again, so the rider who we saw go down on the sighting lap as well there, rejoining as well, the number 468 of Valentino Kimi-Kirk, who's had a few crashes now in this race, just struggling in these wet weather conditions. It is very difficult, but a rider who's doing such a brilliant job of it is Byron Johnson. You can just see the number 8 there, feeling for the grip, putting a leg down, trying to feel where that grip is. That's Bethany Ashby, struggling to find the grip around this Wilton Mill circuit, as it's quite evident that there isn't a lot of it. But Byron Johnson doing an absolutely stellar job out the front on the last lap of this race 1 for the AC40 Rookies Cup.
What a stunning ride from the young man, and he's got almost a 21-second lead over his brother Austin Johnson, with Callum Maxwell still trying to put the pressure on Austin, but Callum picking up a first podium if he can hold on to it. So I'm sure Callum will be absolutely delighted with this result. But the man of the hour is very much Byron Johnson. If all things go to plan, he's just got to exit through Oziers, and that's at turn 8, and then just the back straight, turn 9, turn 10 and turn 11. That's all you've got to go, and he's got plenty of time to do it, and he can take it easy down this back straight, doesn't need to put too much effort into the final few corners. And Byron Johnson is going to be picking up a mega race win here to open up the weekend at Wilton Mill. A little bit of a wobble on the exit of the boot at turn 10, but he's going to come into the final corner. He's just going to keep it on 2 wheels as he exit for the final time. Head down across the line. What a win from Byron Johnson. Brilliant race from him.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant stuff from him. You could just see Freddie Bridewell coming across the line as well. He was lapped after a few crashes, but finishes in 7th position. Only 7 riders or 8 riders able to make it to the end of this race. So Byron Johnson, brilliant stuff out the front. It's a Johnson lockout once again at the top, with Byron and Austin locking out the top 2. Callum Maxwell takes his first podium in 3rd place there. Brilliant stuff from Callum Maxwell, ahead of Travis Shaw, who had that crash at the final corner. Lewis Hull in 5th place, ahead of Chloe Sewell, Freddie Bridewell, Oliver Hall, Bolton and Ashby rounding out the top 10.
Yeah, what a result there from both the Johnsons. That's the 3rd race in a row that we see the Johnson brothers locking out the top 2 positions in this AC40 Rookie Cup competition. And Callum Maxwell, I'm sure, will be absolutely ecstatic with that result. Started in 12th, comes home and picks up a maiden podium here in the Cup competition. So brilliant race there from him. Travis Shaw recovering after going down. In fact, I say recovering after going down. Majority of the riders went down, but one of those riders was riders that didn't was Byron Johnson. Kept it on 2 wheels and did a magnificent job.
What was really impressive was how he was able to put that pace down faster than everyone else and stay on, and he didn't really have any hairy moments or anything. Had really great bike control in the wet weather conditions. You could see him leaning off the bike quite a bit, keeping the bike upright and then keeping that centre of gravity low at the same time. So Byron Johnson was able to put in the pace much faster than anyone else, and the main thing was to stay on the motorcycle.
Yep, and he did a brilliant job of that, circulating around about 3 to 5 seconds a lap faster than anyone else for the majority of that one. So yeah, really good job from both Byron Johnson. Austin Johnson, I'm sure, will be happy to recover back to 2nd position. Callum Maxwell equally in 3rd place on that one. So that ends the first race of the weekend for the AC40 Rookies. So that's the last time you'll see the AC bikes. In fact, you'll see a couple of them out there in the LC40 Elite class, because we found out a couple of the riders out there using the AC bikes in the LC. So whilst we've got a little bit of a lull before we've got the next field out, it's a tricky to take an AC bike out in the LCs, because of course on a circuit like this, 2 long straights, it's going to hurt you. Yeah,
absolutely, and 2 long straights, but many straights in between corners as well. So absolutely, it'll be difficult for them. But we saw they were quite quick in the qualifying as well, though. So still making it work, and they'll be targeting each other as well, because they know that they're on underpowered machines. The likes of Joshua Williams, Archie Gibbs, Marco Holt, Thorley, Trevorrow, they're all riders that are running in the LC40 Elites on AC40 Pro bikes. But up next then, it's the Pick Bike 140s who are going to be making their way out onto this damp grid. Last time it was wet was back at Lydd, and we saw Jamie King take a commanding victory in the wet at Lydd. So possibly we'll be looking out to do the same thing here. But it's Eddie O'Shea who's going to line up on the pole position for this one, and with Jamie King, who's going to be looking to repeat that wet weather victory.
Yeah, he will indeed. Jamie was very strong indeed at Lydd in the wet, so I'm sure his eyes will be on the prize of picking up victory. So Eddie O'Shea, however, lining up in pole. Charlie Nesbitt in 2nd, with Harrison Crosby in 3rd. Then we've got Ryan Hitchcock in 4th. Rossi Banham in 4th, Harrison Crosby in 5th, Taylor Lawrence in 6th. Then we've got Bernie Hook 7th, Jamie King 8th. So he's got a lot of work to do. Chris Wells 9th, with Callum Wybrow 10th. Darren Anderson in 11th, with Thomas Boone in 12th. James Cook in 13th, with Mark Evans 14th. Will Birkin in 15th, with Adam Sweeney 16th. Marco Pandolfo in 17th, Kevin Gritton 18th. Nathan Riggy in 19th, and Jack Andrews in 20th position.
Yep, and it's going to be all about that battle at the front, but wet weather conditions could throw a spanner in the works here with Eddie O'Shea on pole position. He's also on pole position for the Extreme 200, so a really good showing from Eddie O'Shea so far this weekend, really putting the hammer down in qualifying in the dry, but in the wet it's going to be a completely different story for these Pit Bike 140 riders. Jamie King, last year's champion in the Pit Bike 140s, a bit of a wet weather specialist as we saw at Lids, so watch out for him as well. There's your front row then, Eddie O'Shea and Rhys Stevenson lining up on that front row. Eddie O'Shea, we know, is a name we know very well, has been around all season, and also in the British Talent Cup. You can see the British Talent Cup leathers on that front row of the grid. Number 23, Rhys Stevenson, is a name we're not too familiar with, but clearly quite quick around this Wilton Mill circuit on these pit bikes. So a packed grid, as you can see there. Marco Pandolfo in the middle of the grid, trying to figure out where his grid slot is at the moment. Marco Pandolfo was a rider we saw yesterday, Gareth, seemed to have walked more laps of Wilton Mill than he's actually ridden around it. Seemed to be walking back to the pit lane always with some sort of technical problem.
Yeah, unfortunately for Marco, we coined him Walco Pandolfo due to the fact that he was unfortunately suffering bike issues. But you can see that's Charlie Nesbitt just rolling back into position. He'll be starting from 3rd on the grid, but watch out for him. We know he's very, very strong indeed. And these bikes, a lot more power, a little bit more grip than the we saw from the AC40 pros and rookies. So they might be able to just throw it into these corners. And the likes of Charlie, we've seen him sliding in the dry. What's he going to be like in these wet conditions?
Well, I'm sure we can see some sliding around, especially if he's sliding it around in the dry. Expect to see a little bit of rear end movement in the wet as well, but hopefully not too much for the number 86 as we just make sure everyone's lined up in the right spot here on the grid. This is Fab Racing, the Mini Bike British Championships, been host to the Mini Bike British Championships for a very long time. Since 2004 we've had exciting action here at Fab Racing, but the tension is building now on the grid as riders are making sure they're in the right grid slots still, but their attention will soon be going to the lights and to this race 1 for the Pit Bike 140 Championships. The eyes now are on the lights then as we wait for the lights to come on, and they are on, and soon we will be away, and we are away here for race 1 for the Pit Bike 140. It's a good start from Charlie Nesbitt, dropping a leg into turn 1, dropping a leg into turn 2 as well, trying to feel where the conditions are, making sure he's staying on, but a brilliant start from him. Eddie O'Shea dropping through the order, and you can see already the number 76 of Jamie King getting really keen to make his way up through the order. He was looking really menacing on that back straight, and he's all over the back of Eddie O'Shea, and is now moving up into 3rd position. Looks like he's got a little bit more pace than the riders around him. Well, they're all through Christmas Curve safely in this race, so perhaps, like you say, a little bit more grip on these bigger pit bikes. They'll be running, most of them will be running pit, and that's Marco Pandolfo down at turn 6, so the rider who's walked more laps of this track than has ridden it is down, but he's now got his bike restarted and back into this race. Marco Pandolfo crashing out, but now restarting. Yep. But it's all about the front, as Jamie King now has taken the lead. We said he was good in the wet, and he's proving it here, but what will Charlie Nesbitt be able to do? You'd like to think Charlie Nesbitt is going to have a go at following the number 76 of Jamie King and seeing if he can match that pace. Some moves being made a bit further down as well there. A lot of battles all through this grid, a packed grid for the Pit Bike 140s, which are very, being such a full grid, we've seen them lose the motor team category that was in this championship as Charlie Nesbitt makes his way up on Jamie King up at Christmas Curve. And with number 23 there, Rhys Stevenson making his way through as well, and Eddie O'Shea. So action all through at the moment as Jamie King losing positions left, right and centre here. Did a good job to make his way up, but now is losing positions at every corner.
Yeah, Charlie doing his best to confuse us by wearing a different helmet in both qualifying and in the race. But you see a rider off to the side. It was Rossi Banham off the start. Couldn't get the bike started, pulled off the side. And unfortunately for Rossi, he's riding hurt this weekend after a big crash last weekend. So for Rossi, it's not been a great start this weekend. Probably not a great week either. But yeah, Jamie King is currently leading this one. Charlie Nesbitt unable to close him down. We saw how strong Jamie is in the wet. Charlie in that new lid, and is maybe not showing as much flamboyance as what we usually see from him, as you see the 5.76 there, and that's off to the side. But yeah, it's a lot of riders. Eddie O'Shea starting to close in on the 74 for third position, and but yeah, it's that's Eddie O'Shea still trying to close in. That's the 23 of Rhys Stevenson. They've got the 86 and the 8 all flashing towards towards the camera and past the camera as they enter turn 6 at Ashby, and exit out of a tricky left or tricky right-hander hairpin on using that slightly grippier exit on that concrete.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got the paint down there, which won't be grippy at all. But then when you go out, you've got the concrete that hasn't been painted on. We've seen a lot of riders using that in the dry. Personally, I'd be a bit wary of using that in the wet, but it could be something we see them using. But I would be sticking it to the tarmac in this one. It's slippy enough around this Wilton Mill circuit without going all over the paint. But riders doing a brilliant job to stay on the bikes in this one. A lot less crashes than we saw in the mini moto races. All running PMT wets in this one, and doing a good job in this race. Rhys Stevenson there is then, who's leading this one ahead of Charlie Nesbitt. Eddie O'Shea now looking really menacing behind Charlie Nesbitt, trying to get in real close, and as Charlie Nesbitt gets a brilliant drive out of turn 5 and makes a move stick into turn 6. What can he do now? He's in front. Will he be able to pull away, or will Rhys Stevenson be able to keep up with the pace of the number 86? Eddie O'Shea now is going to be thinking he's going to be wanting to try and make a move on Rhys Stevenson to make sure Charlie Nesbitt doesn't get away. Jamie King, the number 76, in 4th spot still, as Eddie O'Shea has a look at the number 23 of Rhys Stevenson. Can't quite make a move stick down into turn 9. We saw a big incident earlier on in the Extreme 200s with a few riders go down there on some spill oil, but will still be quite slippy in the wet as well. So Charlie Nesbitt then doing a brilliant job out the front of this race. Having a look behind him, he's got a 1.2 second lead over the line, and did a 1 minute 3.5, so quicker than anyone else by quite some margin on that last lap. So finding grip that no one else is able to do. But now Eddie O'Shea is up into second place. Will he be able to close down Charlie Nesbitt? He's dropping a leg down into turn 6, just trying to feel where the grip is around this circuit and seeing if he can reel in Charlie Nesbitt. He looks to be doing a good job of it. Gets a good bit of lean angle around this around those corners there, and looking really confident. So I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see Eddie O'Shea catching Charlie Nesbitt, but we know how good Charlie Nesbitt is with bike control. We saw him sliding around all day yesterday.
Yeah, we saw Eddie O'Shea, of course, starting on the pole. Charlie's made his way up from 3rd of the grid, leading this one. Rhys Stevenson was holding position in 2nd, but will now drop down to 3rd place after losing that position on that last lap to Eddie O'Shea. Eddie is just on the fastest lap, a 1:01.8, so they are getting quicker. They were doing 1:05s at the start of this one. We're now up to a 1:01.8, so the riders getting a little bit more confidence. There's always a tag there between the front and the rear wheel of the 15, and so that's that was close. We've got another rider down, and it's Marco Pandolfo once again having issues on that bike. So struggling once again is Marco Pandolfo. Yeah, it just looks like the seat unit on that bike had come off there. And that's Eddie O'Shea as well that's gone down. So Eddie O'Shea looking to try and restart this race. He was in 2nd place, was trying to close down Charlie Nesbitt, had closed down slightly over the line, but now there'll be a big gap between him and Charlie Nesbitt out the front, so that's going to promote Rhys Stevenson up into 2nd position, and possibly Jamie King onto the podium.
podium. So the rider who was really good in the wet at Lid also doing a good job here as well. So Charlie Nesbitt it is that leads ahead of Reece Stevenson, Jamie King, Callum Wybrow in there as well. Mark Evans in 6th place ahead of Jack Andrews, Darren Anderson, Adam Sweeney and Nathan Riggy rounding out your top 10 at the moment. Eddie O'Shea then dropped down to 5th place after crashing out, so he's got some work to do. Will he be able to catch the likes of Callum Wybrow and Jamie King to try and get back onto the podium? It's a bit of a tall order for him, but still 4 laps to go in this race, so plenty of time for Eddie O'Shea to be able to get that done and try and catch the number 76 of Callum Wybrow, who's in 4th place, with Eddie O'Shea, the number 8, in 5th at the moment.
Yep, it's a good race so far for Callum Wybrow. He's currently standing 5th in the PB 140 standings, yet to pick up a win or a podium. So to be up in 5th is showing that he is picking up the results. He's probably just needs to aim a little bit higher, but he's moved up into 4th place as Charlie comes across the line and goes quickest with a 101.4. As you can see on screen, that is the 67 of Callum Wybrow. So the man in 5th place in the championship is you can see ahead of him, can see Eddie O'Shea. So Callum has dropped back down to 5th position after gaining at that place on the last lap. Eddie O'Shea now moving back up into 4th. So Callum back down into 5th place, but still on for some decent points. Charlie Nesbitt, race leader, has once again gone purple. He is, of course, on the 86 bike. So the 86 is enjoying himself out there, now stretching that gap out. Started in 3rd and struggled to get to the front, but now he's got to the front. 7.5 seconds he's built.
Yeah, he's been absolutely dominant at the front, and Eddie O'Shea on an absolute charge now, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see the number 8 catching Jamie King and challenging for the podium despite crashing out of this race. He already made his way through on Callum Wybrow, and with 3 laps to go, Eddie O'Shea is putting down a blistering pace that's a good second and a bit quicker than Jamie King at the moment. So you can just see there Charlie Nesbitt coming up to some lap traffic. That's Marco Pandolfo, who's just suffered from 2 crashes in this race, so that's why he's getting lapped there by the number 86 of Charlie Nesbitt. But Charlie really putting out a brilliant pace at the front. 9.7 seconds it was over the line, and that battle for 3rd between King and O'Shea really closing in now. Eddie O'Shea only a second behind Jamie King now, so Eddie O'Shea could bridge that gap to Jamie King and onto the podium. He did a 101.9 on that last lap, with Jamie King on a 104.4, so expect to see Eddie O'Shea catching the number 76 of Jamie King and on this with 2 laps to go in this race, as number 86 there, Charlie Nesbitt, comes round to lap Rossi Banham there, just struggling in the wet weather conditions. Like we said earlier, he's riding injured at the moment, Gareth, after a crash last week in the Junior Supersport category at Donington Park. So he's just going round with a little bit of pain in this one and just struggling in the wet weather conditions. Charlie Nesbitt looks behind him. He's got a hefty lead, 11.7 seconds. And like we said there, Eddie O'Shea moves up into 3rd place. He's, after that crash, caught down Callum Wybrow, caught down the number 76 of Jamie King, and made his way up into a podium position now, and could possibly even be challenging for 2nd place, because he's quite a bit quicker than Reece Stevenson. So on this final lap, Eddie O'Shea could take 2nd place from Reece Stevenson.
Yep, Charlie Nesbitt, as soon as he got to the front, has controlled this one, but Eddie O'Shea will be trying to close in. He's currently his last lap time is 2 seconds faster than Reece Stevenson, which means that he will catch him by the end of this lap if he keeps on him. But Charlie Nesbitt has got to the front, led from the front, cut through the traffic, done everything needed. He's going to come across the line, pick up the first win on the weekend here at the PB 140s. Charlie Nesbitt is your race winner here at the first race of their weekend. What a victory from him once again, picking up another win on the season, and he can add that to his ever-growing tally across the line. Eddie O'Shea
does get Reece Stevenson on the line by 0.6 of a second. It was going to be close. Eddie O'Shea put in some mega laps in that those last edges of that race. Catches Reece Stevenson and demotes him down to third. Jamie King holds on to fourth place. Callum Wybrow is going to be in fifth place. But what a last lap there from Eddie O'Shea. 2 seconds down, he manages to claw it back and take second place.
Yeah, he showed some tremendous pace to be able to claw that back in. And of course, both Charlie Nesbitt and Eddie O'Shea will be back out later on in the Extreme 200s. So they'll have had some experience now in the wet weather conditions, and they'll have the upper hand over their rivals later on in the Extreme 200s. And Charlie Nesbitt looking really comfortable in these wet weather conditions. And so is Eddie O'Shea, who's really put the hammer down. Really unfortunate that he crashed out, because it would have been good to see a battle between Eddie O'Shea and Charlie Nesbitt, but Eddie O'Shea still picking up a brilliant second place despite that crash. But yeah, like we say, these riders now, Charlie Nesbitt and Eddie O'Shea, have had some experience now that they can take into the Extreme 200 race later on.
And there is your top 10. Charlie Nesbitt takes the victory by 13 seconds over Eddie O'Shea, who managed to really in and past Reece Stevenson on that final lap. Jamie King in fourth place with Callum Wybrow in fifth. Darren Anderson finishing in sixth, holding off Mark Evans in seventh place. Taylor Lawrence coming home in eighth, with Thomas Boone in ninth. Harrison Crosby rounding out your top 10 in the 93, as Harrison dropping a little bit of points here in this one. He probably would have hoped for a slightly better result, but tricky conditions out there. But one man that wasn't hindered by them is the man leading the championship, and that's Charlie Nesbitt.
Yeah, Charlie Nesbitt has had 5 wins in the pit bike 140 class this season, and pretty much every race that he's finished, or started rather, he's picked up either a win or a second place, and he's kept up that reputation there, picking up his 6th win of the season.
Yep, but it is Eddie O'Shea that takes the fastest lap in that one as well. So Eddie O'Shea doing a great job to come back from that bike issue early in the race and really breeze past Jamie King and Reece Stevenson to hold on. So even though he started on the pole, he recovers back to second place. I'm sure Eddie, if he spoke to him afterwards, it's probably the best situation possible for him regarding having that bike issue, and coming back to come home and take second will help him in the championship, and it will promote him past Brad Ray, who of course joined us at Lid, and Brad Ray was third in this championship. So Eddie O'Shea will overtake him up into third place in the title. Charlie Nesbitt leads away. Jamie King holds on to second in the championship, but it will be now Eddie O'Shea in third place.
So yeah, brilliant stuff from the pit bike 140s. But going out onto the track now, back to the smaller bikes. It's the LC40 Elites going out on track now, and we've seen some wet weather action for them at Lid, which saw some surprise winners and a lot of great action. But it's Charlie Huntingford who's currently leading this championship ahead of Ryan Hitchcock, who's been quite dominant in this class, but has just suffered from a few DNFs, meaning he's 11 points behind the number 76 of Charlie Huntingford. Huntingford struggling a little bit to get that first win of the season. His best result still is a second place so far this year, but he's going to line up on pole position, ahead of the number 72 of Samuel Munson, and the number 43 rather of Ryan Hitchcock, your championship leader, in third place ahead of Archie O'Brien, Josh Williams, Archie Gibbs, Wilson Dilks in 7th, Luke Fitchett in 8th, Thorley Trevorrow in 9th ahead of Marco Holt in 10th, Warwick Brady in 11th, and Casey Sperry rounding out the grid in 12th place. It's worth noting that some riders in this category are running on the air-cooled Minimoto machines that are slightly underpowered compared to the liquid-cooled machines. So riders such as Joshua Williams, Archie Gibbs, Wilson Dilks, Marco Holt, all running on air-cooled machines for a bit of extra track time in this LC40 Elites class. But with the conditions as it is, anything could happen in this one, and we could even see some of the air-cooled bikes battling out at the front.
Yeah, and maybe for the likes of those that are using the air-cooled bikes, they've had a little bit of practice out there. They've already had a race so far, so watch out for the likes of Archie Gibbs, for Marco Holt, that have got a little bit more practice than maybe the likes of Charlie Huntingford and Ryan Hitchcock, who will be out there. But looking to the lights to get us started for the LC40 Elite class, and it's going to be a cracker. It always is here, the liquid cooled. Lights on, lights off, away we go. And it's a good start there from the pole sitter, and that's Charlie Huntingford, who sweeps into this one. And the 76 will be happy. That's a great start. In fact, he's got himself almost a little bit of a gap between himself and Sam Munson in second place.
Yeah, Charlie Huntingford he's picked up 2 wins in so far this season, second place and 2 thirds, so has been really strong, really consistent, and that's why he's leading this championship by 11 points. Looking further back there's number 3 of Archie Gibbs, who we saw in the AC40 Pro class earlier on, had a crash at Christmas Corner, so was a bit tentative around there in this one, and I don't blame him one bit. The number 43 there, you can see Ryan Hitchcock in third place, just behind Archie O'Brien, who we saw was really quick in the AC40 Pros, and he's going around on an air-cooled bike in this class as well, so a little bit underpowered for Archie O'Brien, but still absolutely flying in this one. Marco Holt, another one of the air-cooled bikes, but it's the liquid-cooled elite machine of the number 76, Charlie Huntingford, who's really strong at the front of this race at the moment. Got a brilliant first lap, really well done from Charlie Huntingford, and he comes across the line leading this one ahead of Archie O'Brien and Ryan Hitchcock in third place at the moment. Samuel Munson's been demoted down to fourth place, with Casey Sperry making his way up into fifth. Archie Gibbs, Luke Fitchett in sixth and seventh ahead of Wilson Dilks, Marco Holt and Joshua Williams as it stands, as we see a change for second place as the slightly taller rider there of the number 43 makes his way into second, but now there's a rider down there at Christmas Corner. We saw it take a few riders out earlier on, and that's Casey Sperry who's gone out of this race. Josh Williams comes through the picture, but Casey Sperry trying to get the bike restarted and back into this race. Christmas Corner really proving to be a treacherous one in these conditions.
Yeah, especially for these mini motos, they seem to be struggling up there at the top of the hill, but Casey unfortunately drops out of fifth position, but Charlie Huntingford has blown away at the start of this one, a 3-second lead across the line at the exit of the first lap, but coming up to the boot and the penultimate corner, now into the final corner, and Charlie Huntingford will be looking at extending this gap at the front. Really strong weekend at Clay Pigeon 2 weeks ago, picking up all positions on the podium, first, second and a third. He took the first win on the season back in Lydd at round 1, race 1, so that's his second race win that he took. Down goes a rider at the final corner as well, so conditions catching out several riders indeed, and we've seen a number of riders go down. That's Wilson Dilks that's gone down at the final corner, so the 85 there is struggling, and around the outside goes Archie Gibbs trying to get a run on Sam Munson as the 72 and the 3 battle at Christmas Corner. We know that Archie Gibbs has gone down at Christmas Corner already. You can see a lot more nervous through it than Samuel Munson, and losing a little bit of time, but yeah, Archie Gibbs, once again, he's back on it. He's got the pace to be up there at the front, not only the AC40s, but the LC40s. Yeah, absolutely. And you could see the difference. It was a prime example there down that back straight. You could see the difference between the LC40 bike there, the liquid-cooled bike of Sam Munson, and the air-cooled bike of Archie Gibbs. Munson just absolutely drove away down that back straight, with leaving Archie Gibbs in his dust with a bit of spray there. So really, you can really see the disparity between these two. As you can see, Archie Gibbs closing up in the corners in the back section through the boot into the final corner. So Archie Gibbs doing a really good job to find the grip here, but another rider who's doing a brilliant job to find the grip is the number 76 of Charlie Huntingford, who's leading this race. As we said, picked up 2 wins earlier on in the season. He won the final race at Clay Pigeon with the number 43 of Ryan Hitchcock, suffering from a DNF in that one after crashing out in that one, but Ryan Hitchcock, in all the races that he's finished, he hasn't finished outside of the top 2, so every race that he hasn't had a DNF in, he's either been first or second, so really consistent, and he's currently second
in this race as well, although 2.7 seconds adrift from Charlie Huntingford, who's really putting the hammer down out front.
Yeah, very much so. And Ryan Hitchcock, as you say, 3 DNFs on the season. He goes purple in that one, a 1:08.2, so half a second faster than Charlie Huntingford. But yeah, Ryan, we've been bemoaning a DNF in each round so far has probably cost him the chance of probably opening up a pretty decent lead at the head of this LC40 elite class. But there's the 76, the race leader of Charlie Huntingford. He's got a 2-second lead, so Ryan Hitchcock has closed in 0.7 of a second over the last 2 laps. But we'll see if Charlie can respond to this pace shown by Ryan Hitchcock in 2nd place, Archie O'Brien in 3rd position, Luke Fitchett in 4th after a good result in the AC40. Sam Munson back down to 5th, Archie Gibson 6th, Joshua Williams 7th, Wilson Dilks in 8th, and Casey Sperry in 9th place.
Yeah, you can just see the number 76 of Charlie Huntingford. Tentative around some of these corners, but finding the grip nonetheless. But Ryan Hitchcock really putting the hammer down to try and catch up to Charlie Huntingford out in front. So Hitchcock really on a setting up blistering laps around this Wilton Mill circuit as they head down into the final corner as Charlie Huntingford comes across the line. There'll be 3 laps to go in this race. What can Ryan Hitchcock do? He extends the lead slightly there, so it's 2.2 second lead across the line Charlie Huntingford had, so he responds to the pace of Ryan Hitchcock and sets the fastest lap of the race on that last lap, a 1:07.212 by the number 76 Charlie Huntingford, your race leader, responding to the pace that Ryan Hitchcock was setting. Luke Fitchett doing a brilliant job in 3rd place ahead of Archie O'Brien, Sam Munson, Archie Gibbs in 6th, Joshua Williams in 7th, Wilson Dilks in 8th, Casey Sperry in 9th, and Marco Holt rounding out the top 10, but unfortunately out of this race at the moment. So Charlie Huntingford then, although it looks as if Hitchcock's closing in a little bit now, it's definitely visibly closer is Ryan Hitchcock. So Ryan Hitchcock putting the hammer down and responding to Huntingford's response.
Yeah, these two in a class of their own this afternoon. As you can see, 18 seconds up the road from anyone else. You can see Charlie very nervous there through the boot, and it's allowing Ryan to close right in, and they'll cross the line. It's going to be around about a second, so he's closed in a heap of time. It's under a second as they start the penultimate lap of this one. So Charlie Huntingford, the race is not over. He's got 2 laps to hold off a charging Ryan Hitchcock, who's looking at picking up a 5th win on the season. And Ryan Hitchcock, I'm sure, will see and can probably feel himself getting closer behind Charlie Huntingford, and eyes fixed firmly forwards. And it's just these two that will be duelling it out for the race win. Behind Luke Fitchett has got Archie O'Brien for company. Sam Munson is 3 seconds back on them. So the battle for the podium between Fitchett and O'Brien is still going on, but it's Charlie Huntingford who is really starting to come under pressure from Ryan Hitchcock in 2nd place. You can see on the exit there of Oziers at turn 8, Charlie Huntingford getting a poorer exit. It's really allowing Ryan Hitchcock, who seems to be much more confident on the brakes.
Yeah, and I think Charlie Huntingford knows that Ryan Hitchcock is coming there, because you see him took a defensive line as he went down into turn 9, so he knows that the number 43 is on a charge behind him as they go on to start the final lap for the LC40 Elites. And Ryan Hitchcock is right on the back wheel now of Charlie Huntingford. Huntingford put a really good lap on that last lap, a 1:07.6, but Ryan Hitchcock setting the fastest lap with a 1:06.0 on that fast lap, so 0.7 of a second quicker than Charlie Huntingford as they come up to some lap traffic. That's Joshua Williams there as a rider down at the side of the circuit, and that's Ryan Hitchcock who's taken the lead on the final lap. Will Josh Williams get in the way of these guys? Ryan Hitchcock is through on Josh Williams, and Charlie Huntingford just caught in behind at turn 6. So Ryan Hitchcock has, I think that's going to be Ryan Hitchcock who's going to take this win if he can stay on. Just a few more corners for Ryan Hitchcock to negotiate now, and he will take the race 1 victory here. Charlie Huntingford just has lost out on this final lap here as Ryan Hitchcock goes through the final complex for the last time, but Charlie Huntingford giving it absolutely everything and trying to close back in, but it's Ryan Hitchcock who goes into the final corner for the final time. He's taking it easy. He knows he's winning. There's a rider down the side of the circuit, but it's Ryan Hitchcock who takes the win ahead of Charlie Huntingford. So you're 1st and 2nd in the championship, 1st and 2nd in this race as well. So Ryan Hitchcock takes the win ahead of Charlie Huntingford. Gave it absolutely everything he had, and right on that last lap managed to snatch the victory away from Charlie Huntingford. You have to feel for Charlie in that one, as he did a brilliant job. But now this battle for third hotting up between Luke Fitcher and there's a rider down at the final corner. That's Archie O'Brien, who's gone down at the final corner. He was very close to a podium. Hopefully he can get back on and across the line, but it was Luke Fitcher who did take third place ahead of Samuel Munson. So Munson did a brilliant job to close in Fitcher, but it was Fitcher that rounded out your podium, and it's Archie Gibbs there just crossing the line there as well, and just Archie O'Brien just managed to fend off a fifth place ahead of Archie Gibbs. There it is confirmed then. Ryan Hitchcock won this race ahead of Charlie Huntingford. Luke Fitcher in third place, Samuel Munson in fourth, Archie O'Brien after that crash in fifth ahead of Archie Gibbs, Williams in seventh, Casey Sperry in 8th, Wilson Dilkson 9th, and Marco Holt in 10th. Unfortunately, 7 laps behind and not finishing this race. Ryan Hitchcock then, brilliant job, but you have to feel for Charlie Huntingford. Led all race long, but just fell victim to Ryan Hitchcock right at the end.
Yeah, what a drive back from Hitchcock there. 3 seconds down he was on the end of the second lap, and just comfortably just picking up positions and picking up time each lap on Charlie Huntingford. And you can see at the end, brilliant sportsmanship between the pair, dabbing up and shaking whilst driving, and Charlie Huntingford knowing that on the day Ryan Hitchcock was just that little bit better at the end of their race. But Charlie will be back, don't worry, he'll be back in race 2 and race 3 tomorrow, and looking at getting revenge and picking up a decent result, and he'll be starting on pole for those races as well. But from third on the grid, Ryan Hitchcock is your race winner, Charlie Huntingford in second, Luke Fitcher once again on the podium in third place. So exactly what Ryan Hitchcock wants. That's a 5th win on the season for him, and he closes in on Charlie Huntingford's lead in the championship. Now next up, it looks as though we've got the senior mini motos lining up in the pit lane, ready to make their way out on circuit. So this is the first time we're going to see this fun category that we've seen them make the most of wet weather conditions to providing entertainment to everyone out on circuit. There we go, lovely wave from the 2 lads there on screen, and we'd love one too. And we can see we can see the paddock there. Everyone's just enjoying each other's company in this miserable weather we've got here currently at Wilton Mill, just northwest of Northampton. But if you've just joined us, thank you for coming and watching. It's of course, if you're watching on Fab Racing's YouTube or on their Facebook account, of course you can listen live on motorsport.radio. How are we doing, everyone in the paddock? Good to see you. Good. Hopefully you're having a good weekend. And now out on circuit, we've got the senior mini motos, and lining up on pole will be Matt Birkin. And Matt, who had a brilliant qualifying, topped both Q1 and Q2. Josh Birkin alongside him in second place as the Birkins lock out the front row, with Bernie Hook, championship leader, in third place. Holly Harris, 3 podiums at Clay Pigeon. She will be in fourth place, with Craig Ashell, who we spoke to on Friday, in fifth. Nick Bennett in 6th, with Andy Whedon in 7th. Marco Pandolfo, who's made his way onto the minis, he's in 8th, with Aston Dean in 9th. George Rennick in 10th, with Robert Kitley in 11th, and Neil Skinner in 12th position. But it's going to be a battle between the Birkins, but watch out for Bernie Hook, last season's champion. He'll have his eyes on another victory and extending this huge gap he's got in this title race.
Oh, absolutely, and he's also got the lap record around here as well, so knows his way around Wilton Mill in the dry. But what will he be able to do around Wilton Mill in wet weather conditions? Leading the championship, as you say, by a hefty 93-point lead ahead of Andy Whedon. Birkin. Will Howarth again not here this weekend, so he'll drop further down the championship. He's 4th in the championship at the moment after dominating at Lydd. He's losing out on points here once again, but you can just see there the Matt Birkin lining up on pole position, and Josh Birkin will be joining him very shortly as well. Nick Bennett also you can see lining up there, but it's the 2 Birkins that are leading this race. We saw a nice set of new leathers there for Matt Birkin in the dry, but he's opting not to get them wet in this race, and he's gone back to his old leathers for this one. So Matt Birkin with the black and orange leathers, and Josh Birkin with the blue and orange. That's how you can tell them apart around this circuit. both with black helmets and both similarly liveried bikes. Matt Birkin, who ran away from us earlier on in the weekend when we tried to get an interview, but he'll be looking to run away in this race as his eyes go to the lights for this race 1 for the senior mini motos. The lights are on and they are now off, and they're away. Lots of legs flying as they head into turn 1 for the first time. It's a brilliant start from Bernie Hook, but it's Matt Birkin who holds on to the lead. The number 4 ahead of the number 0, and Josh Birkin just dropping down into 3rd place. Nick Bennett also looking really menacing there as well. Simon Huntingford rather further back, and that's the number 4 of Matt Birkin, who's gone down at Christmas Corner. We saw how treacherous it was for the junior riders, and now it's taken out Matt Birkin as well at the front, but it's so that promotes Josh Birkin into the lead of this race ahead of Nick Bennett. But Bernie Hook now moving into 2nd place as well.
Yeah, it's a great start there from Josh Birkin, the number 4. Number 5, sorry. But yeah, you can see already it's the adults as well as the youngsters getting caught out in his wet weather. But Bernie Hook, great start off the line. Got those legs moving, got the bike moving, and up into 2nd position. But yeah, Christmas Corner coming a cropper for several of the riders already. And you can see this top 3 already with a breakaway of, a good 3-4 seconds over Holly Harris, who's in 4th position. She's got the number 4 of Josh Birkin behind. So Josh, who will be looking at recovering after that fall at Christmas Corner, sweeps the outside. We'll see if he gets past very soon, but it is across the line. It is the number 5, Matt Birkin, the blue and orange leathers. Bernie Hook dropping to 3rd place there with the inside line for Nick Bennett. So Nick Bennett, who did the fastest lap on the first lap, with 112.2, sorry. So yeah, Nick Bennett up into 2nd place. Bernie Hook, once again, like we've seen before, he's very patient, isn't he? He doesn't rush in these early stages. He just bides his time. He knows that he's got this title. He just needs to pick up points. Yeah, and in conditions like these where we've seen a lot of crashes on mini motors, he doesn't need to risk anything. He's got a 93-point lead in the championship, so he can just pretty much cruise around in 3rd place and just pick up points and just make sure he's finishing these races relatively consistently. But Nick Bennett putting a really strong pace and looking like he's challenging for the lead of this race, getting right up alongside Matt Birkin at the front, so looking real menacing. Nick, you can see on the back of his leathers there, looking a little bit further back of the 137 of Aston Dean, fighting out with Robert Kitley, but back at the front it's the number 5 there of Matt Birkin, who's defending this lead from Nick Bennett. Yep, great run so far for Matt Birkin, but Nick Bennett is looking pretty mighty in these slipperier conditions, and he's going to look at making a run once again on the number 5 machine, and around to the outside into turn 6. Is going to get a cutback. Does he get the drive on the exit? As you can see, the two looking at each other in towards the next corner, and once again the number 5 sweeps to the inside, but the two looking alike like who's going to break first, but it is Matt Birkin that holds his nerve and holds off Nick Bennett for another few corners. Nick Bennett head down, trying to stop as much drag as possible, gets right in the toe of the bike in front, but yeah, he's going to, I'm sure, have another go, I say, as he goes down at the boot. So 2nd place man down at the penultimate corner. That's going to promote up into 2nd position Bernie Hook. So Bernie Hook now up into 2nd place. That's going to leave Matt Birkin free, who does a 107.4, the fastest lap of this one. So Bernie Hook and Josh Birkin now up into 2nd and 3rd. Nick Bennett down to 4th. Yeah, and whilst we've been focusing on that battle out the front, Josh Birkin has been recovering from his crash he had at Christmas Corner, and he's closing down Bernie Hook now. So Josh Birkin looking like he wants to take 2nd place away from Bernie Hook. He's right on the back wheel of the number 0 now, as you can see, as they go down into turn 6. Who's later on the brakes? It is the number 4 of Josh Birkin, who takes that place away from the number 0 of Bernie Hook. Matt Birkin still out front. Yeah, great move there from the number 4 on Bernie Hook. So he's just got to keep it on 2 wheels now for the final 6 laps of this one. Well, 5.5 we'll give it, because across the line will come back Matt Birkin very, very shortly to start the next lap. And he's got a pretty decent lead at the moment, so nothing too much to worry with the fact that we saw Nick Bennett go down at the penultimate corner last lap. But you can see the gap now between Josh Birkin and Bernie Hook is extended. Back on the pace though comes Nick Bennett. He's starting to close in on Bernie Hook for this podium. So, but there is your race leader. That's Matt Birkin out there on circuit, the number 5, and he is doing a stellar job to hold on to a pretty big gap at the moment. Bernie Hook is falling into the clutches of Nick Bennett. So Nick Bennett, after that fall at the penultimate corner, is hoping to recover back to a podium, but it is the number 5 that has a quick glance behind, and it's the last person you want. It's the other Birkin. So we expected these two to be up the front, and they're not proving us wrong.
No, absolutely. Both showing blistering pace at the front of this one. And as Matt Birkin looks behind him, tries to see where his brother is, if it looks to me as if Matt Birkin's just slowing up a little bit now. So I don't know if he wants to have a little bit of a battle with his brother, or if he's running into some troubles, some problems here. He's looking behind him, and it looks as if Josh Birkin's closing in a little bit there. It looks, and that's Josh Birkin down at the boot. So Josh Birkin suffers from another crash, straight back on the bike and straight into this race, back into this race. Nick Bennett now takes that second place away from Josh Birkin. Nick Bennett, another rider who fell victim to the boot as well. So not a corner we've seen loads of riders going down this weekend, but we've seen 2 riders in this race go down at the boot.
Yeah, and Bernie Hook obviously has fallen right down. So Bernie Hook possibly with an issue in this race, because he's fallen down another position, with Nick Bennett promoting himself up. Nick Bennett setting a blistering pace, 107.3. He's 2 seconds lap faster than your race leader Matt Birkin. But yeah, it's once again it's Nick Bennett that's seemingly enjoying these conditions when he can keep it upright.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's setting a real blistering pace, or 107.3 on that last lap, which is quite a bit quicker than Matt Birkin, who set a 109.1. Nick Bennett, we can see in the shot there, Nick on the back of his leathers, number 711, who's absolutely flying in this one. You can just see him there on the red bike, closing down the race leader. But so is Josh Birkin a bit further back. He's absolutely flying as well, and going with the number 711 of Nick Bennett. Nick Bennett in your picture now, coming on to the back straight and closing. You can visibly see that gap has come right down, so 1.4 seconds it is between them, and it's Matt Birkin then who's coming under pressure now from the number 711 of Nick Bennett. Josh Birkin also doing a brilliant job to cling on to third as well.
Yeah, as we've got the top three all in the same picture. It's Matt Birkin from Nick Bennett from Josh Birkin. So this is going to go right down to the wire. We've already seen in lid as a quick glance behind is your race leader Matt Birkin, as he looks over his shoulder to see Nick Bennett closing in, and equally Josh Birkin going with him. But we've seen in lid that this can go down to the final laps in wet conditions, because seemingly in lid no one wanted to win the race. But there you go. It's Birkin from Bennett, from Birkin, from Bernie Hook, who's dropped right down the order, 11 seconds down now. So the timing screens has been updated, and you can see Matt Birkin is your race leader, 106.8 last time around. That was the fastest lap of this race, and we've got it was on the second to last lap of this race. But Matt Birkin, Nick Bennett, Josh Birkin, all within 2.5 seconds of each other. Nick Bennett not quite as fast, so Matt Birkin possibly just turning the wick up a little bit, seeing that Nick Bennett was charging behind.
Yeah, I wonder if Matt Birkin was just playing with him a little bit there. His pace dropped off by quite a bit. He went down into the 110s, like a 110.9 on one lap, and really slowed up, and then now has absolutely put the hammer down and put in a 106.8, the fastest lap of the race, and almost a second quicker than Nick Bennett on that last lap. So Birkin perhaps letting them think they have a chance, and then just putting the hammer down and crushing their hopes and dreams, with almost one lap to go now as they come into the final corner for the penultimate time, as Matt Birkin goes on to start the final lap in this race. A little bit of a tall order for Nick Bennett to make his way through on Matt Birkin, but what can Josh Birkin do about the number 711 of Nick Bennett in second place? Very close behind. You could see Josh Birkin doing everything he could down that back straight to reduce the drag and try and make sure he can get right on the back wheel of Nick Bennett. And you can see they're right together in the background, but it's the number 5 of Matt Birkin coming up to some lap traffic. Absolutely has been dominant at the front of this one, but who's going to take that second place? Will it be Bennett or will it be Birkin?
Birkin's going to have to navigate around the outside. It's probably not where you want to be, but manages to get around the lap traffic there. But behind Nick Bennett and Josh Birkin are battling out for second position. Nick Bennett last lap was 106.4, which was the fastest lap of the race, so exactly what he needed to do to hold off a charging Josh Birkin. They're going to go side by side with 2 corners left to go in this one. Just one opportunity left, but it's going to be that man, Matt Birkin, who's back after a round away. Look to the camera as he comes across the line, has a glance back, and he's going to take the victory. Up to the line comes Nick Bennett. He's going to hold off Josh Bennett and hold on to second position. Arm up aloft for Matt Birkin. He takes a win in the rain here at Wilton Mill, holds off Nick Bennett and Josh Birkin, who were battling away. The gap between the pair of them was half a second across the line.
Yeah, brilliant race then from Matt Birkin, who takes away, took pole position and now taken a win here at Wilton Mill for race 1 for the senior mini motos. That's going to be his second win of the season and his 5th podium, which is pretty impressive considering he missed round 3 last time out at Clay Pigeon. So racking up the points is Matt Birkin, but it's Bernie Hook as well then, who's going to maintain that championship lead. I think it's safe to say with a 93 point championship lead. I believe he finished down in 4th spot, so just picking up some points, making sure that he's staying fairly consistent and finishing. So Bernie Hook down in 4th spot, quite a distance away from your leaders, but picking up points nonetheless, and that's what it's all about for your championship leader. But Matt Birkin, you can see, absolutely delighted with that, popping wheelies onto the back straight as they head into the paddock. He'll be happy with that one. Here it is confirmed then, Matt Birkin it was who took the win ahead of Nick Bennett and Josh Birkin in 3rd place. Bernie Hook, as we said, in 4th, ahead of Holly Harris, who took her first win at Clay Pigeon, ahead of Ashel, Dean, Kitley Whedon and Pandolfo, rounding out the top 10.
Top 3, half a minute ahead of anyone else. That's fantastic pace from those guys. Brilliant. Bernie Hook just knowing, although that's only the second time this season he's finished off the podium. So, it's surprising to see Bernie half a second down, but possibly just looking at the championship rather than picking up medals and wins and podiums.
Yeah, I think so. Just playing it safe in this one was Bernie Hook, and that's all he needed to do. 4th place, he's still going to pick up some decent points from that, and he's definitely still got a nice comfortable lead at the front of this one. I think it's safe to say. Brilliant stuff from the 2 Birkins then, both picking up a podium in this one, as we say. Matt taking his 2nd win of the season, and Nick Bennett picking up another podium for him. So he's picked up 3 podiums so far this season, so he'll be happy with that one as well. But going out on to the track now, we go back to some Metrokit action with the MKGP 50s, lining up on your pole position for this one. It's your championship leader Ronnie Harris, the number 66, who's currently leading this championship, but it's Ollie Horner, the number 70, who's on pole position at the moment, with a 53.8 in qualifying. He took pole position, Clay Pigeon, and took pole position here. Ethan Sparks then in 2nd, ahead of Ronnie Harris in 3rd, Warwick Brady in 4th, Samuel Munson in 5th, Clayton Edmonds in 6th, Cameron Sewell in 7th, ahead of Alfie Davidson in 8th. Blake Wilson is the number 108 in 9th place, ahead of Harrison McKay in 10th. Casey Sperry, Luke Schofield, Charlie Huntingford, Ollie Sims and Jacob Stevenson rounding out your top 15, with Philip Soroviak, Arnie Carr, Harry Payne, Felix Dorling and Dominic Gardiner rounding out the top 20 here for race 1 for the MKGP 50s.
Yep, so Ronnie Harris, who's yet to finish off of the podium, he's picked up 3 wins on the season. He will be starting in 3rd place. Ollie Horner, as you say, second pole position in a row after taking pole at Clay Pigeon. Will be delighted with his qualifying results, and he's now just going to hold on to the position, because he was pushed back a little bit by the likes of Ronnie Harris, Ethan Sparks and Mason Foster in Clay Pigeon. But I'm sure Ollie although all those times set in the dry. We're now in completely different conditions. So let's see who can get up to speed in these slick, it's greasy and pretty nasty conditions, and those kind of not quite standing water wet. Yes, challenging conditions. That's exactly the word I was thinking of. As it's the you can see it's Ethan Sparks on screen there, the 62. He will be lining up in second position currently. 10 points off Ronnie Harris in first place. So Ethan Sparks will be thinking of once again picking up some good points here, and he will be looking to add to a couple of wins that he's picked up. He's picked up 3 so far this season in the MKGP 50 class, but he's got Mason Foster, he's got Ethan Sparks, he's got Ronnie Harris for company. Equally, he's got Ollie Horner, who'll be lining up on the pole for this one. But who's going to get that launch off the line? Will it be Ollie? Will it be Ethan? As they look to the lights and get ready, everyone just tentatively waiting and getting ready to go as they look to the lights and get ready to start their first race of the weekend here at Wilton Mill. And it's engine notes revving rise, and up and out we go for the first start of the weekend. And it's Ethan Sparks that sweeps around the outside, takes the race lead, as already you can see up to second place goes Ronnie Harris. In third place is the 99 of Warwick Brady. So good stuff from Warwick Brady. He's challenging Ethan Sparks as they go up the hill towards Christmas Corner for the first time. So Warwick Brady really charging from fourth place. He's going to find himself in second, and already going to the inside of Ronnie Harris. Warwick Brady's taking this lead.
Yeah, Warwick Brady we saw really strong in the wet back at Lydd when it rained there. He took 2 second places in the wet, which are his only podiums of the season so far, and he's looking to go one better in the wet this time out. He's challenging for the win, and he does take the lead. So the number 99 it is that leads over the number 66 of Ronnie Harris. Also there, Clayton Edmonds doing a brilliant job, the number 146 climbing up into third position. So wet weather definitely throwing a spanner in the works for your front men in this championship. Mason Foster, though, not on the grid in this race. He's third place in the championship. But that's Warwick Brady down, so that's number 99 who's crashed out of the race. He took an early lead, but perhaps just expected a little bit too much from these track conditions earlier on, and he's crashed out at the boots, and he's trying to get back and rejoin this race. So Warwick Brady crashing out and back into this race now, so that promotes Ronnie Harris up into first place, Clayton Edmonds up into second. But Clayton Edmonds having a look at Christmas Corner. Will he take the lead? Yes, Clayton Edmonds it is then who's leading this race from the number 66 of Ronnie Harris. Samuel Munson as well there, you can see in the background, defending third place ahead of the number 61 of Harrison McKay. What can the number 146 do of Clayton, the number 146 of Clayton Edmonds do then? And now he is out front. Will Ronnie Harris be able to respond? Clayton Edmonds looking really comfortable at the front here, but Ronnie Harris all over the back of him.
Yeah, what a start from Clayton. Started 6th on the grid, finds himself in the lead with 3 laps done. So brilliant start from the 146. And Clayton was saying that he was delighted with 4th place at Clay Pigeon. So if he holds on to position, you can see the back end of that bike wanting to step out, but it does well to hold on to it. But it is him and Ronnie Harris have started to break away from the 72 of Samuel Munson in 3rd place. But across the line comes Clayton Edmonds, does a 1:10.5. He's almost a second faster than Ronnie Harris. So Clayton Edmonds on a charge here in the early stages of this one. Ronnie Harris 0.4 of a second down, but starting to get back on the pace and starting to close back in on Clayton, not wanting to let the 146 ride away into the distance and allow the bike with the orange accent wheel to move further forward and possibly pick up his first win here in the MKGP 50s. As there's the 21 off to the side of the road, and that's Dominic Gardner. And we spoke to Dominic, and unfortunately for him, it looks as though he's having some bike issues, trying to get back in the race now. But there is your race leader, 146, Clayton Edmonds from Ronnie Harris. Ronnie Harris, of course, leading the championship on 183 points. 10 points ahead of Ethan Sparks. Ethan Sparks is down in 8th position, so not a great race so far for Ethan.
No, we saw him struggle in the wet at Lid on the in the GP50s as well. The only times he's finished off the podium was in the wet at Lid, and now looking in 8th place, so not where we're used to seeing Ethan, but brilliant stuff at the front from Clayton Edmonds, only 11 years old in this mini GP50 category. He took 3rd place in the AC40 Pros last year. His best result is 4th place at Clay Pigeon in the Metro Kit classes, so he'll be delighted if he can hold on to this one. Still 7 laps to go though, and Ronnie Harris putting the pressure on, although Clayton Edmonds looks like he's got a little bit of breathing space now ahead of Ronnie Harris. The number 72 of Samuel Munson still defending 3rd place ahead of the number 61 of Harrison McKay. Jacob Stevenson doing really well there, up into 5th place. Brilliant ride from Stevenson. Sparks now up into 6th ahead of Blake Wilson, Ollie Horner, the number 100 of Cameron Sewell in 9th, and Warwick Brady in 10th place now after recovering from that crash. He's setting a pace that's quite a bit quicker than the riders in front of him on a 1:10.5 on that last lap, so almost as quick as well, pretty much as quick as your race leaders. So he'll be climbing up through the field, but it'll be a bit of a tall order for him to catch back up to your podium positions. Just looking at the number 70 there then, that's Ollie Horner, who started from pole position. He's dropped down to 8th place in this race, so he's going to have to try and bring his pace back up to the front of this race. But the number 99, and we can see there, of Warwick Brady, who's recovering from that win. He goes round the outside into the first corner. That's Oblivion, so now he's right behind the number 60 of Ollie Horner. He's challenging for 8th position, gets a good drive down the straight and takes that 8th place away from Ollie Horner. So Warwick Brady, the number 99, looking to charge through the field now to recover from that crash he had up at the boot. Turn 10 on this Wilton Mill circuit. But it is still Clayton Edmonds holding on to that lead ahead of Ronnie Harris. It was 0.2 of a second over the line, and it's looking really close. Cam Harris there, the number 100, just making his way through. And that's Warwick Brady down again, the number 99. He's crashed at turn 10, and now he's crashed at turn 9. So Warwick Brady down, and it looks like he's going to be out of this one for good this time. Really unfortunate for Warwick Brady. That's the tank missing there from that Metrokit GP50 bike. So Warwick Brady really unlucky. Just got caught out by the conditions there. Was pushing hard to try and climb up through the field, but unfortunately got caught out by turn 9.
Yeah, the rider from North Wales, you can see how frustrated he is. He knew that he was on a right fight back there, but Clayton Edmonds still leading this one. But yeah, real shame for Warwick Brady. He will lose a heap of points in the championship. But there, Clayton Edmonds, the 146, doing a brilliant job so far holding Ronnie Harris. But this is the closest Ronnie Harris has been in a number of laps. In fact, is he going to get up the inside? He's onto the curbs and he's going to have the inside line. Not quite. Clayton's going to try and show him the door, but here comes Ronnie Harris, championship leader, taking the lead of this one with 5 laps left to go. Ronnie Harris up into the lead. Clayton Edmonds now down to 2nd place. Now let's see what Ronnie can do. Can he start to streak away? Now he's up. We've got a rider down at the top end of the circuit, and that's Ethan Sparks. So Ethan Sparks now up to 5th place. I was just looking at my screen. So that's the 72. That's Samuel Munson that's down there at the exit of turn 4 and turn 5. So Samuel Munson down out of 4th position. So yeah, a real shame for Sam, but Ronnie Harris coming across the line, and Ronnie Harris with this lead, but Clayton not giving up, so doing a brilliant job so far. He celebrated his birthday at Clay Pigeon with his best result, but is looking at bettering this, and well, he's got 2nd at the moment, but he's definitely got his eyes on that win.
Yeah, absolutely, and he's taken the lead back, so he's definitely got his eyes on the victory. The number 146 of Clayton Edmonds moves up ahead, but it's a red flag. It's a red flag caused by one of the crashes there. So Edmonds, it was, that was 2nd across the line last time around. So Ronnie Harris is currently your provisional race winner in this one. With 4 laps to go, though, we'll wait for that one to be confirmed.
Yeah, that would be a big result there for Ronnie Harris picking up this win. Ethan Sparks recovering from 8th position all the way back to 4th for the cross, as they cross the line. But there is the man on screen that was leading when the red flag came out. But of course, we'll see if it comes back to count or to roll back as they came across the line, because it was Ronnie Harris that was leading coming across the line. But Clayton Edmonds once again making that move up the inside. But regardless, that's a first podium for Clayton, and he will be and should be absolutely delighted.
Yeah, he looks really happy there, just celebrating in that one. So whether it's first or second, I'm sure he'll be really happy with that result. Although he definitely would have wanted it to have been a win. But Ronnie Harris, then your provisional winner, led last time across the line ahead of Clayton Edmonds and Harrison McKay, who's looking good to pick up one of to his first podium as well.
Yeah, good race there from Harrison, and equally making moves. So Harrison starting in 10th place and ends up currently on the podium provisionally. So of course all these results are provisional until we get the full results sent through to us. But but this is how the timing looked across the laps with 4 laps left to go. It was Ronnie Harris across the line leading from Clayton Edmonds, so he is currently provisionally your victor ahead of Clayton Edmonds 146. Harrison McKay in 3rd with Ethan Sparks in 4th, Jacob Stevenson in 5th with Blake Wilson in 6th, Cameron Sewell in 7th with Ollie Horner falling all the way down to 8th, Philip Soroviak in 9th, and Ollie Sims rounding out the top 10. Of course, all results are subject to change, but yeah, I'm sure Ronnie Harris and Clayton Edmonds, great battle at the front there. I'm sure both of them will be either happy with first or second.
Yeah, absolutely. For Ronnie Harris, the championship leader, 25 points or 20 points will do him really well. He had a 10-point lead going into that race, so with Ethan Sparks down in 4th place in this race, the main thing for Ronnie Harris is to be ahead of Ethan Sparks. And Mason Foster didn't start this race. He wasn't in qualifying. We didn't see him in the practice sessions in the 50s, although he is out in the GP 70s. So perhaps some technical issues for Mason Foster's MKGP 50 machine, but he's 3rd in this championship and would have been pretty quick in these wet weather conditions. As we saw, he was pretty good at lid in the wet as well. But it was Ronnie Harris then that's still on with this provisional win ahead of the number 146 of Clayton Edmonds. Brilliant result from the number 146 of Clayton. His best result previously was 4th place at Clay Pigeon. He was 3rd place in the AC40 Pros last year and only 11 years old as the number 146.
Of course, all the final results can be found on the Speed Hive website, so make sure you go check them out to find out all of these results that, of course, if they've been stopped early and were made provisional, check them out there for all the confirmed results. And but yeah, it is Ronnie Harris that once again that's another podium, so he's yet to finish off with it. So Ronnie Harris having just a brilliant season so far. The 66 is really enjoying himself out there, seemingly very strong at every circuit we come to. Ethan Sparks falling back a little bit in 4th position, however being in 8th, I think if you're Ethan, that's a little bit of disaster management there from him, managing to recover back to 4th place. So if you're Ethan, it's not too many tears with that 4th place, but yeah, equally Ronnie Harris will be extending that championship lead out the front ahead of both Mason Foster, who of course wasn't able to take the grid, or Ethan Sparks. There we go, we got the name. But yeah, great result for Ronnie Harris, brilliant result for Harris McKay and Clayton Edmonds.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. So that's 2 riders with their first podiums in this MKGP 50 class. But next up on this slippery Wilton Mill circuit will be the Extreme 200s and Moto Team. Moto Team, we're used to seeing them in with the Pit Bike 140s, but with such a packed grid on that Pit Bike 140 grid, they've been moved over to the Extreme 200s. And it's Eddie O'Shea then who's on pole position for the Extreme 200s. Brilliant pace from him in qualifying, quite a bit ahead of Charlie Nesbitt, who's going to line up in 2nd place ahead of Harrison Crosby in 3rd. Ryan Hitchcock, the number 43, he'll line up from 4th spot on the grid, one of the British Talent Cup riders, and we saw earlier on in the LC40 Elites. The number 30 of Max Cook, he'll line up on 5th spot. Max Cook, one of the junior talent team riders over in the Junior World Championship. He's set to line up in 5th spot of the grid ahead of Evan Belford, British Talent Cup rider and last year's MKGP 70 champion. The number 79 of Storm Stacey, that's a familiar name, in 7th place. He's the BSB rider for the GR Motorsport team this year, and one of the youngest riders to compete in the British Superbike category. The number 99 then of Bailey Stewart, Pat Campbell, will line up in 8th spot. He's another British Talent Cup rider, ahead of Joe Farraher and Simon Clowes in 10th place. He's your pole position for the Moto team. 10th place on the grid, but first in the Moto team. Jason Pugh, then another Moto team rider, lines up 11th spot on the grid, ahead of Greg Pym, Daniel Lee, Ian Jackson, the number 7, in 14th spot, ahead of Fraser Kinnaird, and who's ahead of Alistair Kinnaird in 16th. Vince Bailey in 17th. Richard Scott, the number 331, in 18th, ahead of Dean Waite and Philip Joyce, rounding out the top 20 of this grid. So Extreme 200s then going out on to start this to start their formation lap for this one. They'll go out, they'll line up on the grid, and then they will be away. They have this formation lap to have a look at the conditions and have a feel for the grip around this circuit. Although it's not raining as it was before, it's still very much wet and very slippery around this Wilton Mill circuit.
Yeah, very, very greasy out there indeed, but much better than what we saw earlier on, when there was a lot of standing water offline and a lot of these riders were struggling for grip around the conditions. But welcome if you're watching at home. Of course, if you're listening live in the paddock as well, it's always good to hear from you guys. And yeah, make sure you are watching and you're liking, subscribing, favouriting, all that good stuff you do on the socials to help promote Fab Racing. And of course, if you're watching live on Facebook, let us know who you're watching, who you're supporting, and if you're having a good weekend. We hope you are indeed. From the commentary box here, myself, Gareth Hall, and Tristan Finocchiaro, bringing you all the action from Wilton Mill this weekend. And there is the man that is leading the championship, Charlie Nesbitt, the 86 bike. He's currently 15 points ahead of Harrison Crosby, who will line up in 3rd, but it will be Charlie on pole for the Eddie O'Shea on pole for the Extreme 200. Simon Clowes on pole for the Moto team. The 133, he will be lining up in 10th on the grid. However, in pole position for the Moto team. Of course, split class racing here at Fab Racing. Moto teams are in with the Extreme 200s, but yeah, Simon Clowes, he's got a little bit of work to do, because Jason Pugh in that baby blue bike has seemingly been attached by a small piece of string to Simon Clowes over the last few races. So Simon, he's not got this one nailed on.
No, absolutely not. But who is definitely going to be challenging Will Howarth for that lead in this weekend, because Will Howarth, number 96, isn't here this weekend. So 11-point lead he has over Simon Clowes. So that lead will go this weekend. But like you say, it's between Clowes and his competitors. The number 8 of Jason Pugh, absolutely attached to Simon Clowes in the Moto team. But it's at the very front of the grid for the Extreme 200s. It's Eddie O'Shea and Charlie Nesbitt, who have been absolutely locked together all weekend, have been in a class of their own in Pit Bike 140s and in the Extreme 200s. We were robbed of a battle between them in the Pit Bike 140 class when Eddie O'Shea went down, put in a good effort and picked up 2nd place, but he'll have wanted to beat the number 86 of Charlie Nesbitt. Will he be able to do it in this one? We'll have to wait and see. Charlie Nesbitt just chatting to some riders further back there as they all try and find their grid slots on this race. Perhaps a little bit of confusion further back with some of the Moto team riders. You can just see them trying to find where their grid slots are at the moment, just being instructed as to where to go. But this one, it's going to be a cracker, Gareth.
Yeah, absolutely. Always is here with the Extreme 200s. We know that Charlie Nesbitt, Eddie O'Shea are always good for a battle at the front. So expect to see those two go at each other. We saw them in practice shadowing each other around the circuit. So, yep, there's the two on circuit. You see, it's just Charlie giving a wave to race control there as he's out there with that lovely lid on alongside Eddie O'Shea in those British Talent Cup leathers. But Yeah, watch out for equally at the back with the Moto Team class. Simon Clowes in 10th place, Jason Pugh in 11th. So the battle between the Moto Team riders will continue. Simon Clowes is now only 11 points off of Will Harris' lead in that class. So it's all going to go down. The last race of the day here at Wilton Mill for the fourth round as they look to the lights. The engine notes rise as they rev, getting ready to send them down to Oblivion at turn 1. Lights out and down towards turn 1. It's a good start from Charlie. Can he sweep ahead of the 43? And he does. So you can see Charlie up into the lead of this one, moving up from second on the grid. Eddie O'Shea dropping down to third place. Not a great start from him. Simon Clowes and Jason Pugh going side by side up the hill towards Christmas Court for the first time, and up into the lead, I believe, goes Simon Clowes here. So Simon Clowes holding on to the lead of the Motor Team class, but great start there from Charlie.
Yeah, brilliant start from Charlie. As we see again and again, he's just able to absolutely get it off the line brilliantly. His reaction times are incredible, and he's always gets a good start. He doesn't need to be on pole position because he always seems to take the whole shot anyway. But Eddie O'Shea dropping down through the order at the moment. Not the start he would have wanted from pole position. Looking further back, you can see Simon Clowes there leading the Moto Team at the moment. He's just behind James Cook there, who's on the number 30 machine. So the number 1 through 3 there. There's your Moto Team race leader, Simon Clowes.
Yep, Simon Clowes doing exactly what he needs to do to pick up the championship lead overnight ahead of Will Howard, who of course is missing this event. Jason Pugh has fallen a couple of bikes back behind a couple of the other riders, so he's fallen down the order, but Charlie Nesbitt comes across the line with a 2.1 second gap. So a great start there from Charlie. He'll be delighted. We've currently got the 43 of Ryan Hitchcock in second position. Harrison Crosby, who is second in the championship, is in third ahead of Joe Farragher, and Simon Clowes moving up to sixth position.
Yeah, and Eddie O'Shea just moving up into second place there, as well as Ryan Hitchcock dropping through the order as Harrison Crosby makes his way up into third place as well. So Ryan Hitchcock dropping from second to fourth in one foul swoop there.
Yeah, brilliant move there. And you can see side by side into the second to last corner goes the 43 of Ryan Hitchcock and I believe Harrison Crosby. You can see Eddie O'Shea, the 8, sweeping past into the last corner there, and there is the following pair of Ryan Hitchcock and Harrison Crosby as they use that very aggressive gully like rumble strip on the exit of the final corner, and using it to great effect, even though it's probably quite slippery out there. And there's the 15 bike on screen, but now there you go, Motor Team action as Simon Clowes is passed into the final corner, and he's now currently in 7th position, or 8th position, sorry, with Alistair Kinnaird and Fraser Kinnaird closing in behind.
Yeah, brilliant battles all through this field. Ian Jackson then taking that Moto Team lead ahead of Simon Clowes, but it's Charlie Nesbitt at the front who has a 4.7 second lead across the line ahead of Eddie O'Shea. Charlie Nesbitt has taken 6 wins so far this season. He's won every race that he started in the Extreme 200s. He took 3 wins at Clay Pigeon, and but looking back at the number 3 through 3 there, that's Simon Clowes, who's still just in second place in this Moto Team race ahead, behind the number 7 of Ian Jackson at the moment, who's made his way up into the lead of this Moto Team race on the number 7 machine there. But yeah, Charlie Nesbitt, GP2 rider as well over at BSB. He had an unfortunate weekend last weekend at Darlington Park. Had a good race one, but unfortunately crashed in warm-up and wasn't able to get out in race 2. But he's doing a brilliant job here with a 6.2 second lead ahead of Eddie O'Shea at the moment.
Just shaving himself over a minute lap time here, which in these tricky conditions is a pretty good job so far for Charlie. And as you say, he has had a brilliant season, so many wins, a hat-trick in Clay Pigeon, but on screen there was the 43 of Ryan Hitchcock. Behind you can see the battle for the Moto Team is still continuing. Simon Clowes is battling with Ian Jackson in the lead of that one. Alistair and Fraser Kinnaird both equally looking at picking up a podium in this class, but the 133 of Simon Clowes ahead of the 7 of Ian Jackson there. So Simon Clowes back past after losing that lead in Moto Team a lap ago has managed managed to get himself back up into the lead of this Moto Team class, and the 133 is going to try and hold on to it as they exit the penultimate corner at the boot, now into the final corner, and keeping off that probably quite slippery white line on the exit there, and Simon doing a good job once again, and picking up results as and when needed to reel in this lead that Will Howarth had accumulated on the exit of the end of round 1 and round 2 at Lid.
Yeah, but that's Charlie Nesbitt who's off grass tracking now, so something's happened there to your race leader. Has he gone down? Looked like he was fiddling with something on the handlebar there on that CRF 150 machine, so something's happened there to the race leader, but he's back and in this race. Is he still leading this race? We'll find out as he crosses line. No, it's O'Shea who's now leading this one, so Charlie Nesbitt 3 seconds behind Eddie O'Shea. Eddie O'Shea now leading this one ahead of Charlie Nesbitt. Eddie O'Shea's first podium in this class was back at Lid. He took a second and 2/3 back at Lid, so was a brilliant showing from him. And Eddie O'Shea then, number 8, just in picture, looking through turn 6. He's now in the lead of this race, so we've seen how treacherous these conditions are, and now it's caught out the number 86 of Charlie Nesbitt. He looks menacing through these few corners here. You can see him getting some real good lean angle in these conditions. Eddie O'Shea tucking himself in, trying to keep as aerodynamic as possible. 5 laps to go in this race, so time for Nesbitt to claw it back, but with a rider like Eddie O'Shea, it's not going to be easy.
Yeah, we've seen them been relatively evenly matched for pace this weekend, but Charlie, he's got a bit between his teeth now, and he's just put a purple lap under a minute. He's done a 59.955 there, so he's fastest on circuit. He's over a second faster than Eddie, so you've got to think that Charlie's going to close in. He's got 4 laps to do so, and you can see Eddie just a few corners up as they come up to Christmas Corner and down through the exit of turn 4, a quick left flick, and Eddie O'Shea is now once again leading this one, but he's going to have his peripheral vision all full of Charlie Nesbitt, I would imagine, filled within the next lap or so, because Charlie will be on the charge. He'll be although he's here for fun, and he's putting the effort in the championships, and he's a winner. He wants to win. That's what he's like. We've seen, although he goes out there and enjoys himself, a winner always wants to win. Yeah, absolutely, and like we said, he's won every race that he's finished in this championship, and that's why he's leading this championship by 15 points ahead of Harrison Crosby. And he's doing a good job of catching now Eddie O'Shea. 1.8 seconds it was over the line with a 59.4 on that last lap, but Eddie O'Shea responding 59.6. So Eddie O'Shea putting the hammer down as well. He wants this win just as much as Charlie Nesbitt does. Yeah, absolutely so, but the gap now is 1.8 seconds between the pair. Charlie eking out 0.2 of a second, but Eddie, as you say, doing the best he can to try and match the pace, but almost off the bike goes Eddie O'Shea, the back end not wanting to stay attached to the ground at all, and that's going to allow Charlie to sweep up the inside. Brilliant bike control there from Eddie O'Shea to stay on it. Almost looked as though he was about to be high-sided, but just about holds on to it, but now promotes Charlie up until you can see hand goes up from Charlie there just to acknowledge that he is taking this lead, and now Eddie is going to have to go on the charge, because that's really allowed Charlie back up. But yeah, great bike control there from Eddie. A very, very scary moment.
Yeah, really, really scary moment from Eddie O'Shea. Did well to save that one. He had a look behind him to see who was there. He saw Charlie Nesbitt was there, and almost gave him sort of a "did you see that" kind of look. So it was a big moment there from Eddie O'Shea. You could just see both of them dropping a leg as they go down into Christmas Curve as they come round to lap a few of the Moto Team riders here. But quick check on the Moto Team. Simon Clowes, it still is that's leading from Jason Pugh, and Ian Jackson has now dropped down to 3rd place in this race, and you can see that on screen now. So Jason Pugh, the number 8 machine with that blue machine, now up into 1st place in the Moto Team race, but it's a 3-way battle for the lead in that one. But back with the Extreme 200s, it's Charlie Nesbitt who's leading over Eddie O'Shea. Eddie O'Shea, a British Talent Cup rider who we saw at British Talent Cup last year. He also got 3rd in the GP7 70s last year, so a perfect example of a graduate in the Fab Racing British Mini Bike Championships. But now we're on the last lap for the Extreme 200s and the Moto team. Charlie Nesbitt looking comfortable out the front now, a 1.1 second lead over O'Shea. So O'Shea has no answer for Nesbitt, but who's it going to be in the Moto team class? It's at the moment it's Jason Pugh who has the better of Simon Clowes and Ian Jackson, but these guys locked on track as Charlie Nesbitt comes round to lap your Moto team leader. So that's the Extreme 200 leader and the Moto team leader, both in the same shot there. Jason Pugh on the number 8 machine, leading this one as they head into the final few corners.
Yeah, brilliant race from Charlie to come back after that issue that took him off circuit. He comes into the penultimate corner at turn 10 at the boot, and after recovering back, using that scary moment for Eddie O'Shea, Charlie Nesbitt is going to pick up another win on the season here at the Extreme 200 Championship. Across the line, Charlie Nesbitt is your race winner. Behind Eddie O'Shea comes across the line in second place. Jason Pugh holds off Simon Clowes in the Moto team class by 0.3 of a second. Brilliant result there from Jason Pugh as he picks up a win on the season for I believe the first time. So also second race win there for Jason Pugh after winning race 3 at Clay Pigeon. But what a result there for Charlie, using that moment there for Eddie O'Shea to take the win there. But number 8 equally Jason Pugh, Moto team holding off Simon Clowes in the late stages, and possibly that the leaders, as you can see on screen, the 86, probably helped him out a little bit there, just putting a little bit of a barrier between himself and Simon.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw him coming up to Jason Pugh, Simon Clowes and Ian Jackson on that final lap, coming around to lap them with these Extreme 200 bikes being a little bit quicker in terms of lap time and straight line speed compared to the Moto team bikes, but still brilliant racing in both classes. But it is Charlie Nesbitt who wins yet another race. That's 7 race wins now, and here we see the Moto team race winner, the number 8 of Jason Pugh. Brilliant race from him. Simon Clowes it was then that took second, and Ian Jackson in third place in that one. The number 5 of Alistair Kinnaird did well in that one as well, in 5th ahead of Fraser Kinnaird, Vince Bailey, Dean Waite, Phil Joyce and Ian Denny, rounding out your race there for the Moto team. But it was Charlie Nesbitt who won the race overall and the Extreme 200s ahead of Eddie O'Shea and Ryan Hitchcock in third place. Harrison Crosby it was in 4th ahead of Farah in 3rd, James Cook in 6th, Pugh in 7th, Clowes in 8th, who was your second place man in the Motor team, ahead of Jackson and Kinnaird, rounding out the top 10 in this race.
Yep, what a day's action we've had here from Wilton Mill, and it's been we saw dry running for the first race of the day, the MKGP 70s, but after that the rain came down. We had an extended break whilst we allowed everyone to move on to the wet weather tyres, and it really shook up the grid, didn't it? Because we saw plenty of action and plenty of positions and podiums from riders that we may not have seen up there. So it's really a leveller, isn't it? It's one of those conditions where you see anyone and everyone going down, and even the best were struggling out there, like we saw Charlie Nesbitt and Eddie O'Shea both having moments out there. So very, very tricky conditions. We're expecting possibly the same thing to happen tomorrow, so tune in for that action. But what a first day we've had here at Wilton Mill. Yeah, absolutely incredible. Loads of action in the wet. The wet always giving us a treat, and it didn't fail to do it here for round 4 at Wilton Mill. Yep, and of course this is Fab Racing's Mini Bike British Championship from Wilson. In round 4, halfway through the season already, it's flying by. And of course you are watching live on Fab Racing on the YouTube channel, of course on their Facebook channel. If you are, make sure you give us a like and a follow, a share, a subscribe, all that good stuff you do on the socials. Of course you can listen live on motorsport.radio, the world's only 24/7 live stream motorsport dedicated radio station. Clips, highlights, music, everything from everything that you see from 2 wheels to 4. Tristan, what have we got coming up tomorrow? Plenty of action out on circuit. Race 2, race 3. What are you looking forward to?
Well, very possibly some more wet weather action tomorrow, with the weather forecast looking like it's going to be wet again tomorrow. But we can look forward to some great racing again in the Extreme 200s and motor team, like we saw just out there. A lot of the mini moto classes will be out again. The AC40 rookies, AC40 pros, the LC40 elites. They were all really entertaining. A lot of crashes in there. Thankfully, all riders okay. Also expect the pit by 140s. That's always a great class to watch. Always really entertaining as well. So we can expect to see loads of action tomorrow, and you can watch it live on Fab Racing's YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, as well as on Motorsport Radio's YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch as well. Or you could even listen to it on Motorsport Radio.
Yeah, listen on the go. It's always good. Put it on the radio station and listen live as myself, Gareth Hall, and Tristan Finocchiaro bring you all the day's action tomorrow. But thank you very much for joining us for the first day of the weekend, and we'll be back with plenty of action tomorrow. It's all going to happen here at Wilton Mill, so we'll be back very early tomorrow morning. So have a great evening, and we will see you very, very soon.
The 2020 Fab Racing Minibikes British Championship. Live.